Hey, how are you, Dan?
Good, how are you?
How's it going, man? How was Porch Fest? I was thinking about you guys in the rain there.
I didn't do the Asbury one.
Oh, you did?
I wasn't sorry about that because of the weather.
Oh, I bet.
I did Redback the following year, I was fine.
Oh, you did? Oh,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, good time.
Cool.
Beautiful.
That's awesome. It's a wonderful event, whatever town it is.
Yeah, that was fun. Right.
Hi, how are you?
Yeah, if you don't know. And she said, she's gonna give them the line, but she's like, okay, I'm not gonna transfer them. Yeah. She offered. Oh, you know, she just, I talked to her, today, she's not really hard. Yeah, that's something, and then she was gonna go, and talk to her and Jordan. And I was got a couple people in her house too, so. Oh, okay. And she just rather. Understand that. Yeah, so, yeah, it's fine. I mean, yeah, it was a little bit slow. Yeah. If no one else is taking the house.
You can do your homework before school starts.
Oh, I know. I did. I used to do it on.
Yeah, it's good, yeah, I doubt to her or
Plus.
not, yeah.
Or didn't do it at all.
No, it's a good idea.
That would say it's really.
Thanks.
Great. That's right. It's nice to teach you.
Yeah, I'm still gonna read it, but she's,
Anyway.
There's two copies there, make sure you sign them both.
what?
There's two copies there, one for me and one for Jackie.
Okay. Let's see. So. What'd you get? I got a day, they got me.
I talked to her earlier, she sounded like she was okay to go,
My
but
friend.
Yeah, I talked to her earlier this week.
He said she left.
changed her.
Yeah, she has like, she's got a lot going on at the house and everything, so.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that, yeah, it's a good point.
I was on the phone with her probably for a good 45 minutes.
Huh?
I was on the phone with her for about a good 45 minutes.
Yeah, I got on and off, I got lucky. Oh, she's not near as bad as,
Oh, gosh, no, she's very good.
that's wonderful. Actually, looked at my
But
lap.
I think she had someone to talk to, so.
I liked it. She called me today.
Yeah, she's okay though. She'll be okay.
No, she really took the one.
She'll be fine.
So she said it's like. Something like, but she sounded good. She did that. He's still. Yeah, let's do it.
So, okay, well, I'll ask her, she likes, I'll ask her, she likes first,
Okay.
too.
Yeah, get Jane to do it.
You know,
Yeah.
when time we don't. And then, I don't think so. I mean, that
Yeah.
can discontinue.
They don't do it.
Now, something went in.
But Jane. And actually, one of my clients just called and said, I'd like that little song. Yeah.
So, and I don't know that it's.
Especially if you kind of want. Let's do it, let's set it up. We're gonna do it for November, and November, October.
November, because I have that.
Okay, all right, all right.
And I feel as like that, as well as, you know, like how many times I'm like, I want to say my ALC, you know, I'm ready.
Yeah, A1C, yeah. So, yeah, let's set that up.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll do it, we'll get Jane to do it.
Okay.
Thanks.
So she's the traveling word.
Oh, yeah, she's all the time. You don't know what the plan is, the plan is reject the last one. That's
So I just think they're looking something like complaining about it. They were using it as their every day. And then moved from spot to spot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just get confused because I know that it's technically across from the 900 block, so backwards.
That's right, you're right.
Okay, so, well,
Should be.
that's why I'm thinking like. It's really, so, you know.
Yeah. That's all right.
There's somebody to pick up. some-
One more.
Yeah.
Did you?
Oh, can I talk to you?
Just going to get my hair cut. Everything. Okay. Work across the street. Oh, so I've been saying all along, every notch is signal. You should be allowed to have. We've been saying it. For
What to do, you know, you think it's.
And there's not. I was thinking the email, they have some.
I love those shoes. So I didn't get 190, just so you know, so it's gonna have to go on the next agenda. Okay.
All intersections of their. Because I was. We saw. So, yeah, I mean, I was thinking, you know. It doesn't even have to be. Yeah, science is really required. Very strong. Good, yeah. Played golf yesterday, it's pretty late. It was good, and I actually heard there was the same road. Yeah, he was there. I'm sure you did.
Thank you so much.
About your summer colors.
Blood pressure.
Is that what it is? Are you always gonna have this guy in a joke? I'm like, we're gonna have that too. It's not a good joke.
Well, that's.
It's true. It has been nice. It has been nice. Today's gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. I got listed on my shirt.
We got a long meeting, short meeting.
I couldn't even tell you at this point. I don't know. I mean, it could go by fast.
Benedict's is going.
I mean, it could. We've got a bunch of engineering.
It's all.
I'll see ya. Is there a 2 seconds? I mean, that's.
Yeah, there's no score after 3, that's 6, 7 minutes.
So next time.
So, that's 7 men on 3. Knocking lights out of the wall.
How are you? I love yours. Oh, and you know, I didn't tell you something, I didn't tell you something, those colors. Remember? It is, you're right. It's okay. Oh, yes, that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, no, that's fine. So it's still fine. We don't hear that. This guy's in the registry system, so. This guy. I sure got your order in the morning, so. But yeah, so we can think about it. Or in this case. Oh, that's okay. Okay, it's what you have to know. Okay. Hey, Ben, long time no see.
Wow, you look good. Wow.
So I didn't fill out my application. Yeah, it's good. I'll be.
But, good. Yeah, yes, thank you.
I know that you bring it before.
Hey, John. How are you?
Yeah. All right, so. I hope to say that.
Oh, yeah, it's like one shot. There you go.
No,
Two copies.
Yeah.
Jackie,
She says she might be zooming in tonight.
is she on it?
I don't see her so far. Keep an eye out for her.
Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
I wish to announce that the 48-hour notice is required under the Open Public Meetings Act was emailed to the Asbury Park Press, the Co-Star, and the New Co-Star on December the 7th of 2023. That a copy has been placed on the bulletin board in the Borough office and that a copy has been filed with the Borough Clerk. As a courtesy to the public, this meeting may be attended via Zoom. If for any reason the Zoom portion of this meeting fails or is disconnected, the in-person meeting will continue and action can and will be taken, provided that there is an in-person quorum. Mr. Noble? Here. Mr. Gubatose?
Here.
Ms. Mahoney? Here. Mr. Weber?
Here.
Mayor Fox?
Here. Welcome everybody to our 18th meeting of the year. I have and will continue to emphasize at this meeting a couple of points. Although we disagree on some things and have different perspectives, our voices should be constructive. We all want a brighter Bradley Beach and ask you to join in that journey. I ask everybody to gauge their tone going forward. We're all neighbors. And certainly want to make civility and decency the underpinning of all the discussions we have. Before we get into the formal agenda, I would be remiss if I didn't recognize some of the current tragic events around the country, around this nation and globally. First, in the US, hurricanes Helene and Milton, our thoughts and prayers are with those victims, their families, and to the first responders dealing with these tragic events. Being a short town, we can certainly identify with the power of these storms. Also, October 7th was this week on Monday. It's the 1-year anniversary of the massacre in Gaza. It still looms heavy in all of our hearts. Some 100 hostages remain in captivity. We hope the number is 100 and that there aren't more deaths reported. We hope the governments can steer this to a conclusion that brings us peace. I'm sure as our Jewish neighbors in town and in the county and country are reflecting on these things as Yom Kippur arrives this weekend. The next thing I'd like to do, because we do have a small contingent here, is I'd like to motion the agenda item 6 to up to number 5 before the workshop, the presentation or proclamation for Ms. Rand. I'd like to make a motion to move that up.
Second. Mr. Noble?
Yes.
Mr. Gubatose?
Yes.
Ms. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Mayor Fox?
Yes. Jackie Schneider was going to attend tonight, but this right before the meeting, she called and said that she just really didn't feel up to making it. So I will present this or go through this proclamation, and one of the board members maybe come up, one of the Arts Council members, maybe Dan. I know there's a contingent of Arts Council folk here. If you're an Arts Council person, raise your hand. Oh, I mean, we're friends with Julia. Yes, okay. Okay. Borough of Bradley Beach proclamation in memory of Borough resident Julia Rand. Whereas on behalf of the Borough of Bradley Beach, the mayor and council wish to record their deep sorrow over the passing of Miss Julia Rand on June 21st, 2024. And whereas Ms. Rand was a respected resident and one who demonstrated how much she cared for her community by her continuous efforts to share her directorial talents and love of performing arts with the borough. Whereas Julia grew up in Bradley Beach and later graduated from Marymount Manhattan College, where she earned her Bachelor of Arts degree in theater. Julia also studied Shakespeare with the Royal Shakespeare Company, the American Globe Theater in New York City, and Ulet Hagen's professional acting classes. And whereas Julia was an actress, a director of theater and opera, a playwright, a producer, an artist manager, and a former ballet dancer. Some of her many television credits include All My Children, Law and Order, One Life to Live, Woody Allen movies, and Cotton Club. In addition, Ms. Rand has credits involving several play festivals and off-Broadway productions. And whereas Ms. Rand and former Mayor Julia Schreck created the Arts Council in 2011, to which Julia was the chair up until her passing in June. During her tenure on the Arts Council, Julia was responsible for many stage productions that brought much joy and entertainment to the community. And whereas Julia and her partner Jacqueline created a foundation called Arts for Alzheimer's to raise money for the Alzheimer's Foundation. Whereas the Borough of Bradley Beach, along with her partner Jacqueline, are blessed to have known her and been part of her life. Now therefore be it resolved in recognition of Julia Sandra Rand's many contributions to our borough and its citizens, the governing body of the Borough of Bradley Beach, do hereby express our deep appreciation for her dedication to the program, to the progress of this community, and extend our sincere sympathy upon her passing, dated 9 October 2024. Jacqueline, so if you want to comment or.
I just thank you, Larry, and thank you, council, for recognizing Julia's contribution to our community. She was a force if you knew her. She was a powerhouse in all things theater and performance and all things Bradley Beach. We will miss her deeply and profoundly. But, thank you for the recognition.
Thank you. Now, I met Julia, I guess a little over 4 years ago, and about 2 years ago, she started a discussion about she didn't know how long she was going to be around, which I'd always joke with her that she's gonna outlast us all. The last time I spoke to her was about a week before she passed away. I called her to say, I just want to make positively sure that we're not doing the Shakespeare Festival this summer. Because Julie had this way of surprising us all when she was ill and saying, "Nah, we're gonna do this, we'll figure it out." I can't exactly say what she responded to me when I asked her that question. But it was clear at that point, she knew that the end was near, so I'll always remember Julia as that force that was just mentioned, and you know, we will miss her, and as we move towards kind of a 2.0 Arts Council, you know, where do we go from here? We're assessing that to reform it right now. But we really wanted, before we got that reforming going and kind of a restaffing of it, we would have been remiss not to recognize Julia and all her contributions. So I'm very glad we did that tonight. So thank you, all her friends and Arts Council members. I know most of you, and Julia was always a great person to work with. So thank you all. Okay, we do have a workshop scheduled, and yeah, we probably, if you all don't want to stay for the workshop, feel free to while we moved it up. So I had a request from the council president last week to get the 52, I'm gonna call it the 52 Ocean Avenue project, which is the north side pump house. We hadn't at that point, post budget approval, resumed our engineering reviews. I've been holding engineering reviews with Ben Matlack, who's here tonight to talk to us, and Meredith, pretty much bi-weekly. I don't know when we started that, Ben, but it was probably earlier this year. And we actually stopped doing it in, I want to say the July timeframe, because of we had made as much progress as we could, and we needed to get the budget passed. I was not sure that we could resume resolution development and approval of those that quickly, but I came to find out on Friday that both Ben and Meredith were in a pretty good position to at least get these out on the table. We prepared these resolutions, number 184 to 189. One of them is 319 Lorraine. It's not one of the engineering related, but it has CME implications. So what I thought we could do is go through those as part of the workshop. Don't go through a voting process, but just go through questions, answers, and any discussion to kind of move these along. But we can certainly start with the 52 Oceans.
54.
54, 52, did I get it wrong? It's 54? I'm sorry, 54. So do we want to start with that? And Ben, would you mind just framing 54 for us?
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for having me. Yeah, so 54 Ocean Avenue is a project that we have talked about before. The borough received a grant for, it's an asset activation grant from the NJDCA. It involves, the grant is for planning and design purposes. And it's in order to try and repurpose unused assets that municipalities have. So this being a building that's owned by the borough, it's underutilized. The purpose of the grant is to try and figure out how you can repurpose it for a
better use for the borough and for the public. So the proposal that I submitted is, to do that work. Part of that work involves, preparing a conceptual plan, with some different options and presenting it to the public and to the council at a public meeting, to figure out what is the best, way to use this building and how, everybody wants to see it reutilized.
So at this point, you know, the next step of this would be really a concept design after that, after this step of survey, concept development, public meeting design bid.
Right, so if the council votes in favor of the proposal tonight, that'll allow me to start to do the initial survey work, concept development, and then it will be brought to public meeting for discussion and determining how best to repurpose this building. Once we have a consensus of which direction we want to move, then we'll go into the nuts and bolts, the detailed design, getting the proper utilities in there to make the building usable, and we got. And then put together a technical bid document. My understanding is there's not funding in place to do the construction, but
No,
we will look for additional grants for that work.
Right.
So,
Okay, questions? Yeah, sure.
so, Mr. Malak, thank you for everything you do and all the work you've obviously done in putting together these various proposals. With the pump station in particular, there's just been this pretty consistent message from the council that we don't believe it's a suitable location for the historic museum. I know your proposal still gives that as an option. I know the mayor's recent newsletter suggested it was still an option.
I think still, it is still an option.
Well, okay, the entire council has suggested it shouldn't be.
But I think the public
Congress-
hearing would also provide input to us to inform us what the public would want.
The town historian, who is in charge of the artifacts, has told us, and he's sitting in the audience, that while it might be a fine place for a periodic display of a handful of artifacts, it should not service the museum for all of our artifacts. So, I mean, we could continue to discuss this, but we've discussed this a number of times, and we've had Mr. Nishakin specifically tell us this is not an appropriate place to store the artifacts as a museum. So I guess my question is, in order for us to vote, at least in order for me to vote on approving this tonight, I would just want to understand if your scope can be appropriately narrow, look at only things this council would like to look at. I'm afraid that to the extent your scope is broad and including things like, you know, I don't know, humidity issues for storing artifacts, I'm afraid we might be engaging you to spend more money than is necessary.
Well, I don't think that's necessarily the case, because it outlines it in my proposal that we would prepare conceptual plans, which are somewhat basic. It's just kind of a general layout of the building for maybe a few potential uses. And then only when a conceptual plan layout and use is approved by the borough, then we advance to the detailed design. So we're not, you know, going too far in multiple different directions to prepare, you know, detailed plans for different uses for this building. We're just gonna kind of do a basic conceptual layout, and once we have an idea of where the public and the council want to go, then we move in that direction.
And again, I know I'm gonna appear to be difficult. I don't mean to appear that way. But we've been, not with you, Ben, but we've been through this with other projects in the past where a project kind of got legs of its own and it started to explore many different variations on a theme. It got very big, the project, And by the time it came back to the council, this was a concern I raised during that process. By the time it came back to the council, it was too late. There was too much extra work done on something that the council thought should be more narrowly focused. So I kind of want to get ahead of this time before you attempt to lay out options, one of which might include something the council's not in favor of. And before we engage the public and ask their opinions, if we know in advance there's one or more uses that you might anticipate evaluating for us, and we know in advance we're not interested in those uses, here's another example. This is a property that can serve the north end. I think we should have a lot of focus in the work you do and in the discussions we have with the public on, what kind of basic services we can provide. It's a relatively small building. But, it should be, I don't want to too narrowly focus you, but at a minimum, I would hope you'd consider bathrooms. I would hope you'd consider possibly some sort of concession that would be very small in nature and that would not involve cooking and grease traps and emissions. A sandwich place or something like that, whatever. In my mind, should be a very narrowly focused project. The other thing you provided us, or you provided, the mayor and our business administrator with a graphic representation of what a building might look like. And I think a number of us have raised the question, would that particular graphic even be CAFRA compliant? And I know you still probably need to confirm that, but that's the kind of thing, I don't think anyone, I speak for myself, I don't think we should be expanding that building as it is positioned on the boardwalk, and it'll block residents' views of the beach and the ocean. So there's so much that I think you would benefit from hearing from the council first, before you begin to lay out a broader, perhaps, array of options for us.
Sure, and that is kind of the purpose of the grant in the first place, is to explore these options. What can this building become that's being underutilized? And I'd be happy to, focus on a few, specific layouts that everybody's interested in, whether it's bathrooms or concession or anything else. And we can, bring a few of those to a public meeting and discuss that and see what everybody agrees on. And that's the point of this grant. Right now, I don't have anything. All I have is the grant application that we prepared. And I don't have anything to show you other than that conceptual rendering that my architectural guy put together on his own.
And that's actually, if I may,
Please.
okay. Why I wanted to have this meeting again, because not only were you renovating the original building, but you were replicating it and building another building. And just to think about building a building in front of the Atlantic Ocean these days doesn't sound like a great idea to me. It'll block people's view of the ocean. Right now, there's a porta potty on wheels blocking people's view, but because it is right next to the playground. So in my mind, it's saying to me that needs to be a bathroom, or it needs to be a food. These are needs that people need on the north end. They don't need a museum. They don't need another building. They have a building that's been there a very long time that could use a renovation and be used for something rather than a luxury item. I think a need item would be better utilized.
I mean, I'm sorry, one last follow-up. To me, it's all about narrowing your scope. I don't want to give you a blank canvas to say, create. I'd like to say, I'd like a picture of a tree with a squirrel next to it. So you're very narrowly focused, and then you come back and give us a few different squirrels and a few different trees.
Sure, yeah, that makes sense.
Okay, I'll just add on here, to be perfectly clear. I don't want the footprint of this building expanded. I don't think we should go there. So echoing, I think what others just said, so figuring out what it could be, and yeah, it seems to me to make sense, like, should we figure out what we want it to be? first. And then spend this money, and if I'm not wrong, this is a $50,000 grant. Not to be difficult, Ben, but this is about $68,000 in the services that you, so. We don't even know what it is,
64.6, yes.
so 60,
64.6.
okay, 64, eyeballing it here. So we're already spending more money than we have the grant, and we don't even know what the building is yet, so I would love to do that in a different order.
The grant is for this specifically to determine how to utilize the building. I realize that the proposal is more than that allotment. It's mostly because of permitting that would be required if whether the building is expanded or not. I think capital permit may still be required. And then retrofitting the building to accommodate heating, plumbing, ventilation, electric. Those are costs that are no matter what we use the building for, those utilities have to go in there. That's just like a cost that is.
So you're saying, will we spend some of the 50 grand on figuring out what that would cost?
Yeah.
Okay, that sounds good. To me, though, if you want to figure out the building, the first thing we should do is spend some money on coffee and cookies and get a bunch of people in the room and figure out, ask them what they want the building to be. And with that, shouldn't cost too much money. And then with that, spend what's left on making that, whatever comes out of that meeting, reality.
Okay.
Are we allowed to spend money? Hope this grant allows us to spend money on coffee and cookies. We have to figure this out. We need people's input.
Well, we can have a public hearing without coffee and cookies. We've had public meetings.
I think we'll get more people if we have coffee and cookies. Okay.
I'll make the cookies.
Okay.
I'll bring coffee.
Okay. With the next, you got a comment?
I do. And just to be clear about, Mr. Matlack, if we put the museum in there, it would be considered an educational, facility, correct?
Could be.
It could be, it might be, and then it's in the flood hazard area, so that has different implications. Right, and so I'm of the same mind as Councilman Weber, that I think the best thing to do. And I know that, you were asked to put these together is to figure out what it is that we want to do with the building first, and what the council wants to do with the people in the town want to do, and before we go ahead and do the build out of the building. I think it's kind of putting the cart before the horse to do it a different way. So I think it's conversations first before that.
Public meeting. Sure. And that educational use, that provides some exemptions from permitting. Is that correct, or am I incorrect on that? Or potentially?
Potentially, the educational use does not require a Catholic individual permit. One of the first things we would do is set up a meeting with DP to verify what the permitting requirements would be. Before we advance further.
All right, why don't we move to the next one?
Mr. Malik, one related question, timing of the grant availability. I know a number of these, the council needs to take action pretty quickly, others we have a little more time. Where does this one fit in?
Yeah, so this one is a ECA grant, and upon execution of the grant agreement, the borough has 6 months to spend the money. We've not executed the agreement yet because of we haven't been authorized to start the work yet, so we're holding them off, but DCA is pushing the borough to get the agreement executed so that it doesn't drag on forever.
Yeah, so we can set up a public hearing pretty quick, I think.
With that. I'm just looking at the resolution. First item is survey and base map-based services, but would we have that public hearing with or without cookies and coffee before you begin the survey work and a lot of the other work?
Well, I was anticipating having that work done and then preparing the conceptual plan to be able to present something to the public at the meeting. So I could have a schematic of the building layout and the site, so that we could discuss it.
Well, we could have more than one public hearing too. We could have one requirements, kind of a definition meeting, and then following that, we'll design meeting. So we should probably
Yeah,
shoot
and
for that.
I mean, if we want to proceed at, you know, one step at a time, you know, the first two phases of this could be authorized, you know, initially, potentially with the additional phases to follow after. I don't know if that is allowed, but if that's how you want to do it, then we can do that.
Am I right that there's a couple of showers in there on the boardwalk level, right? There's like tiled showers.
There's,
Yeah, there's some at the ground level.
No, that's, I'm thinking that's like the street level. I thought on the boardwalk level, there's a couple of showers.
Yes.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
but there, probably anything we'd have to do there, we'd have to redo. It's pretty old and beat up. Yeah.
There's an 8-foot deep holding tank for old sewage
Name that.
underneath. Which has to come out.
Okay, do we have to open this to the public first?
Yeah, let's. Okay. Why don't we move to the second recreation center?
Actually, I think we have to open this to the public first,
Can
right?
we open?
Well, I thought what we do is just kind of buzz through.
It's not on the agenda for him to do all these workshops. It's not on the agenda, so I would object.
It's not a workshop, it's a discussion about a couple of engineering projects and.
Well, can we,
Sorry, you're,
Can we open this to the public?
just
With
as
respect to the sewer pump station?
Sure.
I think we should do that.
Sure, we'll do a 5-minute on public, sure. Any public comments? Yes.
Hi, Brigitte McGuire, 610 Linley Ave. I want to basically say the same thing as most of the council people up there. We were already having the same discussion when we were brought an architectural drawing, asking, let's bring the public together, let's bring the community here to ask what we should do with this building before we continue on this. So to see this much money just for preliminary steps, which I feel like have been done already, is even more money than the 64,000 being asked today, because we had to pay for those drawings that came in front of us months ago. So I feel like we need to know, and I know we might not be able to get this until we do some preliminary work, but a total idea of cost before we go anywhere with these plans. How much do we want to spend on something like this as a community? Announcing it, especially to the North End residents, all residents, but especially the North End, to ask for their feedback. I think it's important. A lot of people don't pay attention to the council meetings or the website, so I would love announcements put out on asking for feedback, letting them know there's a workshop on something that we know is dire on social media to a lot of residents about the North End.
When you say dire, what do you mean? I'm not sure I understand what's.
They are constantly asking for some type of concession, some type of better bathrooms. The bathrooms that are there that are more of a trailer bathroom, they've asked to upgrade to permanent bathrooms. They complained about the ice cream and no food this year. So just things like that. I think it's important that the North End residents especially are invited to discuss this type of workshop. So I feel like we're now 2 meetings in, asking for big ticket things, asking to approve a drawing last time that nobody knew about, no one asked for. And now we're asking to approve $64,000 on what? We don't know. So I also would like to know, has this been bid out to other engineering firms, other architectural firms? Is it just CME we're working with? No offense, Ben, but we don't know anything. We have no idea of, like, what can I as a resident come up here knowing about approving this 64,000? What do I know other than the numbers listed here? I don't know what this plans for at all. To me, I'm thinking this is moving forward on that picture we saw months ago. Because that's all I've seen. That's all I know. So do the residents get any more information on this before we say, yeah, sure, vote this $64,000 through?
So we said we'll have a public meeting very quickly.
Okay, and would you mind just announcing that like to the residents as an extra, other than just like a council meeting?
That-
Just because,
that's
I
the-
mean, I could do it
That's the
too.
way
but
that's the way you announce a public meeting. We would announce it. We would publicly.
Maybe you could put it in a newsletter prior to the council meeting, asking for North End residents to, you know, that there is a big discussion coming up that's popular to specifically the North End residents. And this is a great invitation to invite people for feedback. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh,
I also heard, Ben mention that the DCA is pushing to get this grant going. Just to put it on record, I wish the DCA would push our 2023 audit to come through. But, I'm asking the council at this, like later with the resolutions, to please vote this down. We're just not ready as a community.
Thank you.
Thank you.
yes.
Nancy Meadow, Ocean Park condominiums. Since 1988. Which was my first year ever in Bradley Beach. I've requested a bathroom at that site. Nothing elaborate. Toilets, changing tables, sink. No breezeway, no concession. Okay, in 88, we did have the nice concession by the pool. But the sticking point was always the cleaning up of the site. Now, let's jump to this past administration. I don't know how many times I've stood up here and said, we do not want a museum, we just want a bathroom. So let me be really clear. I am at the north end, extremely close to this site. We do not want a museum. We do not want a restaurant owned by the people in Avon. We do not want concessions. If you want to put some vending machines and get into who breaks into them or who lost money, okay, I can bend there. But that is it. I would also like to say, to me, since I've verbalized this so many times, this is a public meeting. How many years do we have to spend to get a bathroom? And if you don't want one, then just leave the building like it is. Because this is what is a dysfunctional government. This is what is a dysfunctional administration. Not listening to what is needed. And definitely, I would say in 2024, almost 2025, we're in a situation where we can barely afford needs. We cannot afford luxuries. And at this point in time, a concession stand is a luxury. And yes, I'd rather not have to walk all the way home and make my own lunch, but you know what? Like that can be managed. Okay, and I think it's more a matter of concessions, what it is you offer these people to bid on and what your requirements are. And that whole scenario, and that's why you don't get concessions here. And the type of food they sell. But I want to make it really clear, and I'm going to be redundant until you look at me and say, how many times does she have to say it? We just want a bathroom, especially for the people that utilize the playground. It's not even as much for the adults. It is definitely for the parents that go there with their little children and need a bathroom. It should not be such a difficult concept other than cleaning out the ground and everything that came with the pump station. Thank you.
Thank you, yes.
Thomas J. Cohan, 612 Avenue. You know, I think it's really interesting, Mayor. You said you've been holding engineering reviews weekly with Mr. Matlock.
No, I didn't say that. I said every other week.
Oh, every other week. I'm sorry, every other week. Now, at those reviews, have there been any council members?
No.
Oh, okay. Just want to clarify that because I'm just wondering who's going to create this conceptual plan. But I'm going to make this really easy for Mr. Matlock. This is no blue sky. This is no blue sky direction like we had at the church to crush the church. The original plan that was submitted, that rendering was horrific. And this is really simple. The building's 900 square feet.
Conceptual plan of what? I'm sorry?
The conceptual rendering that was presented in this room by Mr. Matlock about 3 months ago, where you were adding a whole wing with a breezeway blocking the view down Ocean Park Avenue. That one, that's the one I'm talking about.
Okay.
Okay. That's out the window. It's gotta be, as Councilman Weber said, the existing structure. It's 900 square feet. It would make two very elaborate. I know they don't have to be elaborate, but they can be elaborate. Men's and women's rooms, probably a family bathroom also for changing babies. And it could all be done within that footprint. And not only that, the construction could be funded by the beach utility. So no taxpayer money would have to be used. So I think that's really the answer. Keep it simple. I could draw it out on the back of a napkin and Mr. Matlock can draw it up and we can get it done. That's what we need. We do need bathrooms there. The existing stainless steel trailer is not the standard for Bradley Beach. So let's just keep it simple and actually.
I would contend that the structure that's there, the temporary structure is temporary. We recognize that and was put in because of during the COVID timeframe. It's done a good job for us and it's worked very well. So I don't want to give people the impression there's no bathrooms there. There are bathrooms there
Well, I
and they work very
respectfully
well.
disagree. Many of people on Ocean Park Avenue complain about the view. And I don't think it meets our
I'm
standard.
aware of one person complaining about the view. I'm aware of one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But it's not our standard in Bradley Beach. We want to set a standard as a resort town. Let's supply bathrooms. We shouldn't have lines at the women's room. Because they get a little more use.
There's more women's room than that.
We should have elaborate bathrooms is what I'm saying. I mean, it's, they built the mods at Boston College in 1975 and they're still there. That was temporary. So I don't want to see this building here for a very long time. I want to see it gone. And I want to see that building utilized 100% for bathrooms. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, and Mr. Cannon, for the record, I would appreciate if you didn't do any of these other items as a workshop because they're not posted that way on the agenda. I mean, we've been down this road before. If you want to talk about them when each one comes up, that's fine.
address that?
I'm sorry?
Can I address that?
Sure.
I understand your point, but they are on the agenda, and so whether there's really no functional difference whether they discuss them during the workshop and allow the public to participate, or they just make a motion in a second and then discuss them later when they're on the agenda, and then the public doesn't really get to participate. So I hear you on the forum, but like substantively, if they do this workshop, the public gets to participate too.
There's probably people who would have come if they knew it was going to be a workshop. But it's
That's
just
a
going to
that's a fair
extend.
argument to the opposite, but like I said, I understand your point, but I have a hard time telling them they can't talk about what they want.
It's just going to extend the meeting now. You're going to open it to the public, but if that's your direction. I would just.
So I charge you guys a flat rate.
Thank you, sir.
We do have one person on Zoom.
Liz.
Hey, Liz Hernandez, 407 Newark. I was just wondering regarding the CAFRA permit. Is there an estimate on the cost if it wasn't used for educational purposes?
The cost to obtain the CAFRA permit is itemized in our proposal. The permit phase services are $14,300 for preparation of the application and attending a meeting with the DEP and whatever is required to obtain the CAFRA permit.
Does that include the permit itself?
The application fee, that's something that we'll have to discuss with the.
So that doesn't include the application fee.
Correct.
I think that was the nature of the question, but Yeah.
Yeah, right, because the application fee varies like per use and like per location. So I was just wondering if that was considered when you were looking at the plans here.
That is not included in our cost. It would be a separate application fee that the borough would have to pay. But we have to review with the DEP before that number is determined.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Brett. Okay,
Should we discuss other projects?
yeah, I think,
Where do we leave that?
I think I would make a motion to just quickly go through the other projects. One point that I want to make is that, we had a meeting with the CFO earlier today, or a discussion, and he really believes we should, put a bond ordinance together relative to all these prior to resolution approval. So I think what we should do today is go through these resolutions, flush out any questions that the council has, and then, between now and the next meeting, really get a reasonably accurate bond number.
And so for tonight, you plan to table these?
Yeah, I'd like to go through them, and then I think we table and then just bring it forward in 2 weeks. So I think it's just a quick, recreation. Are there questions? Are there issues or concerns? And if they are, we take them down and then we deal with those as we go.
Can I just go back real quick to the 54 Ocean Avenue? Our proposal was dated April 19th of this year. And that's, at that time, we discussed that there were two options for the building, the historical building and the concession. And that hasn't changed since April. We haven't done any work, we haven't prepared any additional concept plans, so there's been some talk about, well, we've been hearing about this, we've had public meetings about this for already, which I won't deny that this project has come up several times, but there has been no additional work done by us on this project.
Understand?
And unfortunately, until the grant agreement is executed, the borough doesn't take credit for holding a public meeting about this project, because that's one of the kind of requirements of.
The requirement of the grant, yeah.
Is that you hold a public meeting to solicit input. And we can't go backwards and say, well, we did that 3 months ago, now here's the agreement that we signed and it's already done. They won't allow that, so that's what I'm trying to get at, is that the proposal is to begin the work and then kind of start the clock on the DCA grant and move forward that way.
Actually, that raises one other question. Ben, along with this was the memo from you from, June, sorry, that's Main Street, never mind. I'll ask when we talk about Main Street. All right.
But Ben, you mentioned this earlier, just to confirm, there is strong encouragement for us to commence, as you're suggesting we
Yes.
should. Nonetheless, we're not at risk at this juncture of losing the grant funding if we table this to the next meeting.
Not that I'm aware
No, not, I think if we get something done between now and the end of the year, if the clock starts ticking before the end of the year, we're okay. I know Meredith had a meeting with on the promenade and on this today and tomorrow. The promenade, we're good with a little bit of delay. And I'm sure we're gonna get the same answer tomorrow on this, so. So I understand your point. Maybe we just sequence not a public hearing in the context of this, but more of a public hearing that conceptually we're moving forward with this. We will have a public hearing with more detail later, but we want to get some input, fact finding, something like that. Yeah, yeah. Okay, thank you, Ben.
Should we do as you said, Mr. Mayor, discuss the others broadly or not at all?
Yeah, I think what I want to try to get from the council here is, do we have any red flags on any of these at this point? You've gotten all the data, on each one of these, so you could start with the recreation. I think the recreation is pretty cut and dry. But does anybody have any questions on it? I don't know, Ben, if you want to summarize it real quick and then just do a quick Q&A.
Yeah, the recreation center improvements, there are two grants associated with that. One is a local recreation improvement grant, that's from the DCA. And then a Monmouth County Municipal Park Improvement Grant. The Monmouth County grant is a 50-50 matching grant. The local recreation improvement grant is not matching, it's just a grant, and those grant funds can be used towards your match.
Right.
So the Monmouth County grant, $265,000, and the LRIG grant, $74,000. Is that your grant allotment? This project is the resurfacing of the basketball and tennis courts, improvements to the playground, new playground equipment, some drainage upgrades to the playground area, and some walkway improvements. And this one is one of the more pressing ones because of the local recreation improvement grant that has a deadline of December 31st of this year for construction. We're actually already seeking an extension on that because we're kind of past that fall construction window at this point. We're looking more towards the spring construction.
And that applies to the $74,000 grant.
74, yes. The Monmouth County open space, they're more lenient with their grants. There's not a deadline for that.
I do have a couple quick questions, high level, as you were saying, Mr. Mayor. So one is, some of the other grants are largely money available to the borough without a match. This particular one has a significant match, $265,000, if we spend up to $265 of the grant. So, so I guess a couple of questions. One, you add our match to the actual grant plus 74,000, and I get to slightly over 600. 604, is it 660? I think 660.
660 was our cost estimate. For this project.
That's your cost estimate, but the grant funding is 604, right?
So the grant funding is 265 plus 74.
Right, plus our own match.
Plus our own match.
So what we're committing to kick in is 265. We're getting a grant of 265, we're getting another grant of 74. And if I add that all up, it's 604, is that correct?
Yeah, I think
Do it,
that's correct.
do it in your head.
Yeah, yes. I think
The reason I'm trying to raise this is, when I first went through this, I was ready to commit to, the borough getting that match and contributing 265. But then I realized we're still almost 60,000 short of your construction estimate. So if we were to move forward on this project, estimating the construction at 662, we're contributing 265 plus 58 or whatever the math is. So number one, that might have not been noticed by others. I wanted to make sure I called it out. And number two, we're really being asked to spend more than the quick math on the grants, the 265.
Right, so the construction cost estimate is 662. I don't have the math worked out in front of me exactly what the borough's contribution would be, but it would be I'll phrase it like this. Monmouth County will participate 50% of a match to what your construction cost is. If you spend 600, that's 50% would be 300, so they would match up to the 265. If you spend 500, half of that would be 250. They would only contribute 250. So in order to realize the full extent of their match, you'd have to spend at least 570. So
604, I thought. With the 265 to 74 plus our 265 match.
Yeah, so I'm sorry, I didn't make this clear. The 74 can be part of your matching dollar amount towards the amount.
So you spent 530.
Right.
So if we did that, we'd have to look at cutting some items within the construction. or the
Yeah,
project?
if you were looking to minimize it, then we would look to scale down the project or something along those lines. And that can be done, you know, during the design phase. We'd obviously update our cost estimate as we go to see where we can save costs or, you know, if we need to fit into a specific budget, then we can do that.
Yeah, I mean, we had to do that with Lake Terrace. I mean, we had a higher
Right.
estimate, and we cut a couple things out and got to the number.
All right, now that helps because because all in, the construction budget was more than I thought we all collectively wanted to spend. So, thank you. Good. Let's see, anyone else with questions there?
Or move to the next,
Yeah, which one?
Main Street?
Okay, yeah, me? Oh, somebody else talk?
Go ahead, I literally said my notes, go ahead.
I have a question on Main Street. Again, this one came with the memo from June 6th. And I had asked a question. I'm not sure we got this memo before. I went back and I looked. Asked the administrator, and her answer to me was about capital budgets and us not passing the budget, but I don't see how, just because we didn't pass the budget yet, like why we wouldn't get this memo from you. I mean, it's not on you, you provided it to the borough. I don't know why we couldn't have all gotten this and been thinking of it. I know I participated in those meetings regarding Main Street, but this was just to see there was this budget sitting around since June 6th. I was just kind of surprised that we're getting it and in a matter of days, like having to vote on this. So I know I participated in those meetings about Main Street. I don't know that we landed on squarely on exactly what we were gonna do with everything. Was that your impression that we were, like, we definitely know what we're doing on every item that we?
No, we don't know exactly what we're doing on every item. I do recall that in those meetings, there was some, we had some good discussions about whether we were going to utilize the grant that the borough received to focus on like a smaller area, maybe in one section of town, or if we were gonna try and use that grant money to do enhancements throughout the length of Main Street. And I think the consensus was the second, that we were gonna try and improve things along the entire length. If we can't do everything full soup to nuts along the whole length, we would do, you know, the first, it would be like a first phase.
It was my suggestion, so I remember
Right,
that.
yeah, exactly.
So, but then knowing that we didn't have enough money to do everything all along Main Street, I was kind of trying to perform this subtraction, like what is in here that we don't need to, so that's, I guess, what I'm asking, like, you know, where did we land on all that? Do we have a final?
Just,
We chose the light fixture and things like that.
yeah,
But I was like, I didn't think
Well-
benches, and I didn't think we needed so many trash receptacles and things like that, so I just feel like. In my mind, I feel like I want that detail before we go ahead and say, yeah, let's go ahead and do this.
well, I think a piece you may not be recalling, Councilman, is that we said, number one, this is not a 2-month project. It's a pretty lengthy project because of the permitting and all that stuff. Number one. Number two, we applied for and have an application in for a further grant
I remember that, yeah.
to cover basically the full deal.
And if I remember right, we may hear on that before the end of the year, or is it early
No, we'll
next year?
probably here January or February, which the timing worked out fairly well to say, you know, this would dovetail pretty nicely.
Okay.
So if we get that additional grant in February, we'd probably be able to fund pretty much the whole project end to end with what we want. So that's, I think, the way we said we would proceed. That was my recollection. Is that kind of what you remember, Ben? Or-
Yeah, I think that the intent was to design the full project and then implement it in phases
Right.
as the funding becomes available.
Correct. And
Was
that's
there-
what this does.
Okay.
That's what this proposal does.
Correct.
Was there a committee report that you guys created?
I don't think we had created a report necessarily. It was, we just had discussions and then I prepared this proposal to
Based on
try
that.
to, based on those discussions and we are now here today.
Can you remind me who was on the committee?
It was the mayor, Councilman Weber, Meredith, DeMarco, Biagio, the phone, Public Works Director, and then,
Three,
three of the business owners in town.
Ed Mulligan, excuse me, Ed Mulligan.
somebody from BBBCA, Ed Mulligan,
From the real.
Victoria, Travis Simbieski from VIX. And I think that was it. I think that was it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and admittedly, I didn't make it to every single one of those meetings, so I was sort of like, did I miss something? That this, the memo, I don't remember getting this before. And I knew that we didn't create really any kind of report, so. That's.
No, it was basically input we took the design that was done 2 years ago. We kind of critiqued that and said, what are the requirements? What would we want to change on this? This is my recollection of those three, probably had 4 meetings. We landed in a pretty good place and then said, let's put a design together based on that for vetting with the council and the public.
Right,
So that's what we did.
Again, this proposal includes, public meeting for input and discussion, to hear people's feedback.
Oh, roughly timeframe of the meetings was during spring, the summer.
Spring and summer, yeah. Spring and the summer, I guess it would have been before the June 6th date, so it was probably in spring into early summer.
So just, I appreciate this opportunity to, for all of us to share our thoughts, especially if we can be in a position to approve a lot of this a couple weeks from now at our next meeting. My concern, I said it earlier, but I want to say again, because I think it's true of this proposal as well. And maybe, Mr. Malik, you'll have a couple weeks to hopefully consider refining the scope, maybe not the fees, but the scope. I want to make sure that whatever we approve, we're on the same page, like we're saying, yes, go forward. So for example, on this particular proposal, I would like to know, as a council member, what the committee's recommendations were. Maybe the committee, I don't know if there's a designated secretary or something, but maybe someone could summarize largely where you ended up, just so we can all look at it and say, makes sense, let's move forward. Or did you consider this or that? Again, I'd rather give you the guidance up front than react to something where, in my opinion, at least you might have gone off on a bit of a tangent. So the more guidance we can give you up front, the better. And I know I said that about the pump station a minute ago, but I'd say the same here. Just give us the opportunity to give you guidance.
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, I don't think there was not a tremendous variation in the theme from the detailed design that was done 2 years ago. I think it was just refinements to that. It was, let's talk about streetlights. Let's talk about, a couple of those elements.
Yeah, it was.
You've got those notes.
There was a little bit of, I guess, yeah, revision to what was presented, I forget, 2 years ago, right, or something. To kind of scale back some of the things and discuss elements that were people were in favor of or not in favor of. So there was some of that. And I can probably dig through my notes and see exactly what the discussion points were and what was favorable and not favorable. And I can get that right.
Yeah, and an example of that was the streetlights. We have 2 different designs of streetlights. When we looked at how many we had on the street and replacement of one or the other, it led us to, we should probably go with this because it'd be a least cost option. That was a lesser cost and we could live with it. So,
But this went way beyond aesthetics, right? We were talking about bike lanes, we were talking about pavers versus,
we were talking pavers, but not bike lanes. No,
we weren't talking about bike lanes.
During the meetings that we had, we didn't discuss bike lanes.
The meetings that you had.
You're saying the public one that was here.
The public one here, we discussed, but, so that's what I'm wondering is where we are on those things. So if we're not discussing bike lanes anymore, I would wanna know that, and we did discuss and pavers, we discussed.
yeah, pavers.
What we're gonna do about the street, are we gonna tear up the sewers and how far do we go before we're gonna have to redo this? So there's just a lot of things that we discussed in what I've seen. In the one time that I was around for the discussion, that now I don't know, since I haven't seen a committee report, that I don't know where we stand right now.
Yeah, and just a couple other details, I remember you had a lot of like planters, flower pots, and I believe the folks were like, no, like, let's not do flower pots, so that was. Again, a subtraction, I thought, and there was a lot of trash recycling receptacles, and I thought too many, and there was that. And trying to remember some of the other.
There was
items.
bump outs.
Yeah, I don't know that we discussed those like bump outs that you had shown conceptually, was that's still part of what is in your mind, or are we doing that, or?
Not necessarily, that's kind of part of the, would be part of the public discussion of whether or not that would be something we want to implement or not. This plan did not include the, bike lanes, did not include repaving the street. It would just focus on the side, basically from the curb to the.
Curb in.
Yeah, and the big question was pavers, and I think we ended up, and, not everyone's gonna be happy with this, but like, yeah, we should redo the pavers.
Yeah.
I mean, I think you worked out two sets of numbers on.
Yeah, we worked a few estimates to figure out how far these dollars could stretch.
Right, which got us into the conversation around the second grant.
Yeah,
Correct.
So circling back to what I said moments ago, we just all like to be informed of where you ended up,
Sure.
and hopefully you're straightening telephone poles too.
Straightening telephone poles. Got some crooked telephone poles on Main Street.
I don't know how they stand.
It was only half.
Most
the
most of
seat.
those are by design. Believe it or not.
Wow, that's scary.
Yep,
I
So,
don't know that.
what's that?
I don't know that, but I'll trust it.
No, I went around with the representative in town, block by block, and some of those are designed that way for resilience, believe it or not, but it blew my mind.
And
Okay.
one more question on that, would your engineering fees be reimbursed possibly at the end of the project?
Through the grant,
Yes.
possibly, I'm not sure about that. We'd have to review that with, the DOT, they're administering the grant. But that's definitely something we will look for.
Okay, thanks, Rick.
Sylvan Lake,
Oh.
Sorry to interrupt, are we not doing public comment with any of these?
we're waiting till the end.
wait till the end, I'm just trying to go through these, we're not gonna vote on anything specific, we're just trying to get feedbacks for the
That's
next
fine.
meeting.
So,
The,
oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, so the Sylvan Lake Improvements is a project that, the borough received a NJDOT Local Transportation Project Fund grant, $2.4 million. It's for, rehabilitation of the failing bulkhead, between, it's along Bradley Boulevard, basically between it's the last section of wooden bulkhead.
Where there's snow fence.
Where there's the snow fence.
Right.
The conceptual, or the design element that was, discussed in the grant application was continuing the kind of combination of wall and living shoreline that was done at Sylvan Lake Park, expanding that. There's also, included in our proposal is, meetings and discussions with Sylvan Lake Commission, to make sure that the project that they're working on for improvements to the lake itself, make sure this project does not conflict with their project. And then again, public presentation to basically bring all the discussions that we have with Sylvan Lake Commission and their team, and what the final concept design plan is gonna be for the council's approval, before we move forward into the detailed design. And this one is actually only the survey and base map and then the conceptual design phase. Does not include the full detailed design because we don't know exactly what that is yet.
Any question or comments? So this, of the various proposals, and again, and I know they've come in over the past 4, 5, 6 months. So some of them probably need more updating than others, but this particular one, as you know, I'm close to. I've sit through all the Sylvan Lake meetings and I've seen a lot of your direct interaction with the restoration team as well as the Sylvan Lake commission. And I, unlike the others where I'm questioning scope and do you have enough direction from us? This one, because of my active participation, I actually feel like you've got this one pretty well pegged. So thank you for that, first of all. And I guess my question is, to the extent the mayor mentioned, we may want to revisit some of these others in terms of creating bonding. This wouldn't be included in the bonding, right? Or ultimately we get reimbursed by the grant.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not an expert on municipal bonding, but this is a reimbursement grant. So you're not getting the money up front. You spend the money and then you submit to the DOT for reimbursement.
But we're talking about 24,800 to, if we wanted to authorize you on this project, 24,800. Yes, Mayor, do you know what? We have to bond that or?
Well, I think, so we have a meeting with Mr. Garch Friday. We can ask that question, what we want to have in or out. We can pose that question on 24 reimbursement. I mean, I'm sure he's gonna cover that, but.
And related question, I'll ask us this on all of them, timing, you know, where the grant disappears if we don't approve or engage by certain days.
Yeah, this
This
one's more
one's-
recent.
Yeah, this one is not a tight timeframe. This one, the project has to be awarded by April 11th of 2026, which is 2 years from the date the award was announced.
That's a construction project, not an
Yeah,
awarding.
award the construction project, yes.
Right. And there's no time frame to award a design phase to you.
Yeah.
I will say, just as we think about, you know, where we go with these, this is one that I'm very comfortable moving forward whenever it makes sense from a budgeting standpoint.
Promenade extension phase 1.
Somebody else?
Well, Ben, if you want to just.
Yeah, I can summarize it. So this one is another grant through the DCA, $4,275,000. For extension of the promenade from Third Avenue to the municipal border. This one has somewhat of a timeframe. An agreement has to be executed by the end of this year with the full spend of the money by the end of 2026. The executing the agreement, I believe, you know, that's in the process, or I know Meredith at least had a meeting today with DCA to discuss that with them, so I think my understanding is it's there's no issues with it. But we do want to get started on this. So that the agreement can be executed, and also because this is a kind of a complicated project, there's permitting involved. You know, the 2-year time frame to spend the money with construction, you know, is going to come up quick because of, you know, the design required plus the permitting time frame.
This is a project, though, I think we want to move on quickly because we've had a snow fence up for 18 months to 2 years. It's a safety issue. We want to get this done.
Wait, are we talking promenade or something?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's the problem.
My brain went off yeah, sorry. No, this is not. Yes, bring to, I went from the lake to the beach. Sorry. No, so this is not one that's like, what was the timing you said, end of 26?
So, yeah, so the construction has to be done by the end of 26.
Yeah, okay.
But
I'm sorry.
the agreement has to be executed by the end of 24.
And Mr. Malik, the agreement between who?
Between the borough and the DCA.
And what does the DCA need for us to, like, do we need to name a contractor? Do we need to name an engineer? Or what do we need to complete by the end of the
I
year?
don't know the details on that. Meredith would probably know that.
Yeah, she met with them today.
Alright, so this is kind of near and dear to my heart, because this was in 2017, I walked our then engineer and our borough administrator on the beach and said, we need to extend this thing all the way to the edge of town. So we protected the southern third of town from storms like Sandy. So this is a big job, And I know that we had a coastal engineer, I don't know if that's still the case, if we have them, or if they're just in sort of that pool of engineers, but, I mean, this is a huge job. And I don't know if your firm has done anything like this before, a big giant seawall like this?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay. Can you
we're
tell me-
involved in, building the Asbury Park Boardwalk. Been involved in numerous, bulkheads and things like that.
Okay,
So, yeah,
because, I mean, this, of all these, this is the biggest job. So I'm wondering, why are we just going with our municipal engineer? Shouldn't we be putting it out there and seeing what comes back in terms of bids and know-how and, you know, I mean, and just, for example, Mayor, like the outfall pipe thing, I mean, we had multiple, you know, one with Avon, like we had multiple engineers come in and make presentations and, you know, there were
For the
ones.
construction.
yeah, yeah.
Right, I'm just, it's a different thing, but I'm just saying, like, I don't know why we wouldn't do that for a big job like this.
So for this proposal, it's only the survey and base map,
Yeah.
conceptual
Preliminary stuff.
design and
It's still
and
bid.
preliminary permit review. And it does not include a full detailed design. This is relatively small compared to the size of the project.
Right.
So, I mean, it's the borough's decision whether or not you want to, you know, put out an RFP for bids. I don't know who's going to review the bids, but, you know, that would be up to you guys, how that works. But you know, as your borough engineer, of course, you know, I would like you to trust that I can do the work for you. And you can even do this initially to get the project started. And then if you want to put an RFP out for the remainder, you can do that, but that's up to you.
Okay, so that makes it clearer because. Yeah, I mean, so this is like a small job to get ready for. the
Right,
big
I don't think
job.
we're signing on for $4 million.
No, I understand that, so. Okay, and that's not uncommon to have somebody draw it all up and then bid it out, somebody else, okay.
Yeah, because if you think about, and looking at the scope of work that's included in this proposal, part of it is meeting with the DEP to find out what the permitting requirements are gonna be. It's hard to put out an RFP to multiple engineers to bid on if you don't know what permits you're gonna need.
Understand, and I can remember something that came up way back when was, well. I mean, there's an initial meeting with the DEP and they're like, oh, you can't do that, you have to ask the Army Corps, because you're essentially going over their project. And then I feel like once we finally did. Get in touch with the Army Corps, they were okay with it because it was providing a higher level of protection than their flat sand beach, which in their mind, you know, provided some kind of protection. So they were okay with it, but now I feel like we have a different engineer, I don't know that, I just don't want that to be lost in the sauce and. That's all gone, and we have to start at square one again with the Army Corps. So. Do you follow me?
I think so. I mean, we would have to bring Army Corps to the table.
No, I understand, but they already gave some kind of like, yes, it's okay conceptually, you know, to do this, that we needed some kind of, you know, have a name for it, it's like the 403 waiver or whatever they call it. And I believe they gave it, but I'm like, who has it? Right? We don't have the same administrator, we don't have the same engineer. I think it's somewhere, so I will double back with you as far as. Cause I would be ashamed to have to recreate those steps, cause it wasn't fast or easy to get that from the Army Corps. So, okay. Thank you.
Some questions, I'm really fascinated by this, well, it's a huge project, a crucial project. So probably should warrant a lot of discussion, a lot of attention as you move forward. But I don't think the public's even aware of this. I don't think we were able to share the proposals with the public, but there is an attachment in here that you identify cost estimates. And all said and done, it looks like the estimated project cost could be $15 million. Am I reading that correctly?
For the entirety from Third Avenue to the out on border.
Right.
That our estimate was $15 million. The grant is 4.2 million. there's a 5% borough match, associated with that, so. The $5 million range was what we were looking at for phase one, which we think is probably gonna get us to about, Second Avenue Grill.
So that leads me then to a couple related questions. So number one, whatever you're gonna survey and scope out, are you gonna survey and provide scope for the entire project? I would think you've gotta visualize the entire project and then just fund and construct up to 4.3 million or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. We would
That was our approach, yes.
lay out the entire, boardwalk or promenade, to the end, and then scale back to what we can afford during construction.
And I'm sure it's not a pro rata, but in my simple head, 4 million or 4.3 million out of 15 million, whatever it is, roughly, 25% or something less. So is that roughly what we would construct based on this grant funding in this phase one of the project? A third, a quarter of the entire,
What we're saying up to about Second Avenue, right?
Yeah.
Second
so
Avenue.
what is that? What is that percentage?
It's, I don't know the percentage of the whole length, but it's actually probably in the 30 to 40% range.
Really? So spending a third or less of the money, we might get 40% of the project done,
It's
roughly.
the rough cost estimate included, contingencies, permitting costs and things like that. So the estimated construction cost is probably in more like the 12 million range. So that's how you get kind of the 30 to 40% there. And then yeah, the 15 million is just very conceptual at this point. It will be refined during the design process.
I used to agree with that, except then we all lived through COVID and these contingencies exploded on us, so. I believe you now, when you say it might be as high as 15.
Yeah, and the other point on this is we're hoping that there are boardwalk restoration phase two that the state comes out with, and that we can jump all over that and say we've got phase one, now we need phase two. Just another sidebar on this, so people are aware. We met, there was a meeting with DEP yesterday on Sylvan Outfall. And one of the positive outcomes of the Sylvan Outfall is all the jetty rock that currently encapsulates that whole project is coming out because we're gonna use a concrete pipe. So we can actually use that jetty rock for this project. We just have to find a place to put it in the interim, which might be that bullpen, that dune bullpen there, but that's the secondary use of that jetty rock, which is a significant amount of jetty rock, and that's what's below the current promenade.
Right at the base of the bulkhead.
Right.
And assuming we will move forward with this, I'm not suggesting otherwise, but when we move forward, is there a pretty clear path to getting the additional grant funding, or is that really likely to be up in the air?
We don't have a clear path right now, but we're constantly looking, exploring different avenues for additional grant funding.
Like the state hasn't announced another round of the same
No, they have.
grant,
So
so.
we're gonna encourage them to, that would be great if they could.
So I would think they look favorably upon us for the second application if we've already begun.
We've
construction.
done first, yes,
Yes.
absolutely. And if you look at how much we got versus some of the towns around us, we fared very, very well. In this grant, it was $100 million that was given out. We did pretty well considering our size, so I'm hoping that the same will be true on phase two.
And this also, we mentioned sewer pump station earlier, but this promenade work would also be part of our beach utility. So when we do talk about Mr. Gart's bonding, we're talking separate.
Yep, separate, it'd have to be two separate projects, yes,
Okay.
yes, absolutely, yep.
Good questions.
No, okay.
Okay, last is 319 Lorraine. I don't bet if you want to just summarize that real quick.
So this would be for the demolition of the church. There's some environmental work that needs to be done. There's some environmental work that has been done. test for certain things like asbestos, lead-based paint. Additional testing is required, so the reports from around 2020 recommended additional testing being done. And this proposal includes that additional testing, putting together the spec for the demolition and then the construction inspection.
I'm sorry, Ben, before you go too much further, I don't know, Mr. Councilman, do you need to recuse or?
Can I sit here and be quiet, or do you want me to?
It's 3.5 on the right.
I understand, you should follow. That's what I'm following. I'll text you, that'd be great.
If you want to use my office, hopefully it's just gonna be 5 minutes. So I wouldn't go too far.
Sorry, John.
Last time we walked in.
My office too.
No.
Thank you. Okay, good, then. Sorry.
So, yeah, I mean, that's basically it. It's like I said, there's some environmental work, there's preparing the specifications for the demolition. We want to demolish the building, kind of bring the grade of the property down to reasonable grade. So it's not just a mound of soil left on the property. And that's what this is for.
I have a question. Last time we talked about it was 47,000. Now you're saying 79,800.
So, yeah, so this was basically the scope of work that was, put out for RFP, let's see, a year ago, maybe.
But that was just purely managed demo, was it not?
That was to do both,
Oh, it was.
to get the building demolished and to manage the construction or demolition of the building. So it includes the testing done upfront, so that all the contractors are getting on the same thing. And then it involves monitoring during construction, and some of that includes, because we're in a residential area, so it includes some air quality testing while they're doing the demolition. During the contractor is following the correct procedures and protocols for asbestos abatement, lead-based paint removal, and things like that.
I don't know if you were here last time we discussed this, but I talked to 2 other towns and they did not use an engineer to take down the building. They say they only hire an engineer to build the building. And they did an RFP for the environmental testing. They had Envirotech come in and remove the asbestos and lead. And then they hired Lynx, was one of the companies, to demo the building. And, this is, we've seen a lot of money spent on this building already, and I hate to spend another dime on this. If we can save some money, I want to do it, so I would recommend that we do the same and have our BA handle this and save us a substantial amount of money here.
So I had a conversation with the Avalon mayor, and I think the scope of what we're talking about in this project and what Avalon did were 2 entirely different things. Number one, that project was over 10 years ago. Number 2, that church was about the size of a closet. It was tiny, and it really didn't have, I'll call it the arms and legs of this church, the complexity of this church. I didn't speak to Spring Lake, but when I mentioned that we had already a preliminary report on asbestos, and the recommendation in that report was to do further testing. What Mr. Mayor Bernardo said was, well, if we were in that position, you immediately have to do that, and you have to get the right people to do it. So I think we're in a different scope. Again, I didn't talk to Spring Lake as you said you had done, but I think it's a matter of, we can look at the elements of this, but do we want engineering professionals making sure we're going to the letter of the law on this in the middle of a residential neighborhood? Is my big concern. So I don't know, Ben, do you have any comments on that? I mean.
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying. Jane, we're kind of saying the same thing. We have an environmental team that we work with that will do the testing that's necessary. Whether it's it's us doing it, or if the administrator, gets somebody to do it, that's, the council's, decision. But I will say that, the demolition, I don't know the scope, whatever other, the other projects that you're talking about. But the scope of this, demolition is going to exceed the bid threshold. It will have to be put out for public bid. So you will need a specification document that has the technical requirements for, where all the regulated materials are, how they need to be disposed of, how they need to be handled. So that's all included in this.
And it says construction phase services $41,000.
Yeah, a lot of that, again, is environmentally related. Like I said, the air quality monitoring, making sure that we have the daily inspection reports, monitoring the contractor's activities, and typical, things that are involved with a construction project.
So you'll kind of be the risk monitor while the demolition is going on throughout the entire process?
Yeah,
On a side note, has this been scheduled to be heard by the land use board yet?
It's in process, the application's, I think, complete except for one, I forget what the one thing is, but Meredith's talking to Christie about getting that on track. We may have a special meeting on it shortly, but the application is complete.
That's for subdivision and.
Yeah.
Deed restriction.
Yep.
Yeah, I'll just chime in again. We're just trying to air out all our questions, so over the next few weeks, we can hopefully resolve them and vote favorably on everything. But the question I had was not dissimilar to what Council President raised, which is, I've heard different things. I've talked to some companies. I haven't talked to other municipalities, but I probably haven't had enough time to explore what we can do on our own versus where we need a professional such as yourself. My basic understanding is we do need to do the environmental evaluation. Some expert, just as you were saying, you'd use one of your experts, has to come in and say, you got asbestos here, you got asbestos there. However they identify the magnitude of the problem and the location, technical specifications, somebody comes in and you either deliver that entity or we do. And I imagine if we do it, it's some sort of a bid process, or maybe it's a award without a bid, but non-fair and open. I don't know the details, but we get that environmental testing done. That report, I gather we would use, and maybe this is where you come in, but I've understood others did not use a third party like CME. They take that report, they then invite bids for demolition, and that report is part of the bid package. That's more or less my understanding, sounding very similar to what you would do.
yeah.
It's just a question of
Yeah,
what
that's
level of
right.
expertise do we need? Do we need your level, I think, Council President, you said something to me, we said it in an earlier meeting. We need engineers to help us build structures up, not tear them down. That's very simple quote. I know that doesn't help your business model, but it's just an adage that I want to understand better.
Sure, so when the contractor goes to demolish the structure, they need to pull a building permit from your construction department.
Right.
And the construction official will be looking to make sure they filled out the permit correctly, the utilities are gonna be turned off and those kind of things. And at the end, they'll make sure that all the paperwork is in order. But without a professional monitoring it, there's no oversight over the contractor. So if you leave it up to the contractor to provide his own experts to say that, yes, this was done in accordance with the regulations, you don't have control over it. That professional is working with the contractor, not the department.
Yeah, so if you look like at the outfall project that we did on Ocean Park, we had Colliers manage that project. We had a construction company doing the work, but they provided that oversight for us because the construction company wanted to do a few things we were not in agreement with. we went to Colliers and said, no, this isn't gonna work, you gotta do this and this and this, Colliers managed that for us. So it's not an exact analogy, but, you know, that's the way I kind of think of it.
Question.
Thank you.
Okay. I think that's it, Ben, thank you very much.
You know, I just have, so holistically, Mr. Matlack, we will have 6 projects going on, capital improvement projects. That's a lot for any town. As far as CME being able to take on, even if they're just the preliminary phases and that kind of. Will it be you doing that? Do you farm it out to people and how does that work?
So I would oversee all the projects.
Okay,
The nice thing about this is that these are very kind of different types of projects. So we have different kind of groups within our organization that would handle this. We have a structural department, landscape architecture department, architecture department. And I can get multiple different kind of entities within our building working on all these projects simultaneously. And so there's no like over exerting certain resources to you know, we don't have 2 guys working all nighters work to deliver all these projects. We'll have multiple people working on it and we can get these done.
okay, and then you would be kind of the
And
overseer.
I would just kind of be steering the ship, making sure everything's going smooth.
Okay. All right, thank you for answering that.
No, it's a very good question and it's a double-edged sword here. On the one side, we've been able to kind of secure between county, state and federal on these projects about $8.5 million. So that's our tax money that we've paid the county, individuals, the state and federal. We're getting back from those entities.
Right.
So that 8.5 does require some investment on our part, but the question becomes, we get that 8.5 back, and what do we get for that? We get a promenade, we get a fixed Sylvan Lake, we get all these things. So it is a bit daunting to your point, but if we can manage it, we've come into a pretty significant amount of grants, which is great. Now what do? We gotta try to get it done. So that's, but your questions are well taken.
Yeah, no, I understand that, but then, you know, the 4 million comes along with, you know, an extra 9 million that needs to be expended unless we can get another grant to continue it and,
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah,
And that would be a whole other conversation.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And that could be, you know, all over the
the
place.
265 comes with 265.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, okay. All right, thanks, Ben. Appreciate it. All right, so what we'll work towards with the council in the next 2 weeks is to get those questions answered.
Okay.
Sorry.
Mr. Library.
I get John Weber. Where is he?
I'll check if he's outside.
I'll open up to the public one last time. I would just do it when we give you the agenda questions, sorry. Otherwise, we don't put this time, people didn't.
Well, we're still discussing it a bit, so I thought give it a second. So. Welcome back. I know.
Thanks, John. Okay, we'll move towards approval of minutes, make a motion. We're going to let you do that during the agenda. It's gonna be the next agenda item, right? After this. I'm sorry. No, we workshopped the public building. We're having a council. Could you just, we'll be happy to answer the questions at the agenda report, which is gonna come up in about 2 minutes. Approval of minutes, September 25th. Want to make a motion to approve the minutes from September 25th public hearing.
Second.
Mr. Noel?
Yes.
Mr. Gubatose?
Yes.
Ms. Mahoney?
Yes,
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Mayor Fox?
Yes. Make a motion to approve the council business meeting minutes of September 25th.
You just did that.
Oh, oh, so they weren't separate. The hearing and the council minutes were not separate.
No, they were.
Okay, I'm sorry. They were
That's
one.
okay,
Sorry.
that's all right.
All right, public comments, questions pertaining to the agenda? Yes, Mr. Nishampkin. You didn't raise your hand, but I'm anticipating that you're going to.
On the chapter 411.5 Lorraine Avenue. I don't know about the rest of the public, but I found this whole process incredibly frustrating. I mean, it's obvious that none of the committees that study things like Main Street never had a report. The whole process is just ridiculous. And all of you trying to reach back in your memory to try to figure out what had been said at various meetings that we might not have even been at. I mean, how, I get a promise that whoever wins, Mr. Chuck, or Mr. Guptosi, that we have reports from committees that are publicly noted, that there's transparency in all this. I mean, otherwise you guys are just spinning your wheels. Specifically, I have a question on the one item that was not discussed, which is 2024-190, authorization award of professional engineering services with CME Associates for general engineering services. And we have,
I did not receive that resolution, so it's gonna have to go on the next agenda.
okay. But obviously, in addition to the over $400,000 on all these other ones, there's additional fees that CME will be charging us. I just want you to realize that this is a very hefty amount of money. I realize that they're bringing in money on grants, but what percentage is going towards engineering? Thank you.
Thanks.
Mr. Nishampkin, I'd like to add one more thing too. We had an agenda meeting last week, I believe it was Thursday morning. And we had one resolution on there and I didn't find out about these other ones until Monday. That's why we're kind of catching up, that I wasn't anticipating all these resolutions to be on here.
Yes, but this agenda went out Friday, Council President, number one, and number two, when you asked me that question, I did explain it to you, so I'll explain it again. And that is, I was not anticipating that Mr. Matlack or Ms. DeMarco would be in a position to discuss in some level of depth these projects. We felt as though it was important that if we could, that we should move these forward and have this discussion, which I think was beneficial to have. So that is the reason why you asked about one project and we were able to provide more than that one.
And that's why we had a lot of questions too.
Yep, yeah, which is fine.
I'm very constructive.
Thank you. Yes,
Rhonda Greenblatt, 414 Monmouth Avenue. I tend to agree with Mr. Nishampkin, specifically with the Main Street improvements. I recall a presentation where we had a lengthy discussion about bike lanes and whether a bike lane can be on Main Street in one direction and potentially in another direction on the street parallel behind it. So to hear that that's not even a part of the report, that we don't seem to have, I'm really looking forward to seeing the details of that report. Also with regard to trees, so there was no mention of that in today's conversation.
we covered that in the,
So that's a part of the
Yeah,
scope?
yeah.
Okay,
it is.
okay, so I'm looking forward to seeing the report on that. Regarding 319 Lorraine, I'm sorry, Mr. Weber's here, but I want to ask the question. I understand that there's been a very comprehensive environmental study that was done and nothing, no?
It was, not sure how to describe it. I don't want to be critical, but it was not an in-depth report. Ben, maybe you can frame how to say that. I don't want to say it. I don't want to disparage the report because it was what we asked for.
Would you like a copy of it?
No, he has a copy of it. Thank you.
Can you remind me the name of the company that did do the environmental study?
So I think there were a couple of, there was Brinkerhoff Environmental did a report. And then T&M, we did a report, after that one, that I think referenced the previous report. And both were kind of partial, reports. I think at the time, it was kind of anticipated that the building was going to be reused and refurbished in some manner, not fully demolished. So the scope of, looking at the lead-based paint and asbestos was limited to certain areas that they were anticipating to renovate. And then at the end of the report, it says recommendations, additional testing for any other areas that would be demolished.
Right. Yeah, thanks.
Okay, thank you. And then the other question I have, so this is with regard to the promenade extension. What is the most vulnerable portion of the area that we're talking about? I think we're talking about Third Avenue, south to the Avon border. So what is actually environmentally the most, right now, our southern state is getting hit with what we see as might be the hurricane century. And I'm now thinking about Bradley Beach. What is the most vulnerable part of our oceanfront?
Well, the low point is the south part of town. It's
Right,
where Avon and-
But the area that we're referring to, what is the lowest, what I'm suggesting is perhaps, and this may sound crazy, but to do phase one, where the most vulnerable area is, and then work north from there.
I understand your question. I don't know the answer to it. So it's an interesting question we can pose.
Right,
Um,
because at Third Avenue, it's elevated. At Evergreen, it's on grade.
Yeah.
And I would imagine that's much more vulnerable, and just thinking ahead, this is a costly project that we're gonna have to come up with funds down the road. That perhaps we address the most vulnerable area and then move north. And I don't know if there's a way to do that, if it makes any sense, but it's just something to think
yeah,
about.
that's an interesting question.
Yeah, I just think that if you built it in the lowest part and there was like no wall and no bulkhead on either side, water's just gonna come around it, so there's no, like, to me, it makes the most sense just to continue the boardwalk, go down,
Because Third is elevated. Third is elevated until really you start to get toward the Evergreen entrance.
Yeah,
It starts to
But
slow.
the whole problem is that the bulkhead stops after Third Avenue, and then, the boardwalk, the pavers kind of go back towards
So the
Ocean
paver,
Avenue,
the
and
paver elevation is not a bulkhead on the ocean side. There's a fence there, and then there's a drop down to the ocean.
Right, but what I'm saying, the whole thing drops down to like almost to the level of Ocean Avenue, and that's the problem, whereas the, the top of the boardwalk, it's bulkheaded and it's up here, there's no bulkhead and it's down, so.
Right,
Yeah, I
I mean,
see.
but that's really further south of even Second Avenue, where the grill is, there's still a bulkhead there, right?
It's not the
And then
same,
it grades
there's like this
down.
little thing, yes, there's just
A
like.
little, yeah. It's not,
Okay.
1 foot, 18 inches above its top.
Thank you.
thanks. Just a point on, I just want to make on this, bike lanes and the street, that was a report that Rutgers did, a street. Councilman Gubitosi probably knows the name of it better than me, he was on the committee. It was about, creating a more safe, desirable street layout for our town. Back in 2021, elements of that were taken for this Main Street project, but it wasn't a one-for-one kind of a deal, but. There were two reports.
But we did have significant discussion about it.
Yeah,
In
well,
that proposal, and.
I don't know if it was in his proposal or it was when we were trying to work on some parking projects, and it's maybe a little bit of both.
It was a presentation
Yeah.
that included, and I believe it was Mr. Matlock's
Yeah, I just-
presentation.
It was,
and
it was, it was the
Okay.
first time I saw the Main Street presentation
Okay, okay, all
when
right,
I was on council.
And furthermore, if I could just add to that, I know my time is up,
yeah,
but bicycle transit is not just recreational, as we know.
Yeah.
There are many people who use it for work
Absolutely.
transportation.
absolutely, yeah, thank you. Yes,
Brigitte McGuire, 610 Brittany Ave. Okay, just a couple of topics here. I'm happy this is all getting tabled tonight, all of these projects, because I'm finding that we have the same issue for every one of them. And I feel that the public knows nothing on any of them. We don't have access. I emailed Erica today asking, you know, do we get to see these proposals? Do we get to see what all this is for? And I got a response that we can't, the public cannot, only the council can. So as legislators representing our voice, why would you vote on something that we have no reference of at all? So I just feel like it's not even how government's supposed to run. So I would appreciate this being tabled till 2025 at this point, because I can't help but feel like there is just some favor to CME. It's just so much money to CME's pocket right now. This is so many projects, Councilwoman Mahoney, 6 projects, like you mentioned, and when I added it all up today and I posted on social media, I'm like, how do we just get started for $440,000? Not knowing, our sewers are so beyond what we estimated already, and they're not even done yet. So now to have 6 other projects on, and believe me, I want a gorgeous Main Street, I want the bulkheads, I want Sylvan Lake to finally get fixed. I want all these things, we all want all these things, but we have to do them the right way, and we have to be able to see if things can cost us less and get the same results. I feel like we don't have any other options other than CME, and I'm sorry, Ben, I'm sorry, I just keep attacking you that way and your company. It's not personal, it's about doing things the right way. And I just can't help but feel like in my world of business and my personal world, I get estimates for everything. I try to get the top 3 and choose from the top 3. And I just feel like we know nothing, like all these resolutions came here for a vote tonight on $440,000 just for beginning phases on nothing the public knows, nothing. And the council just got the information Monday, and whatever that back and forth was just now between the mayor and President DeNoble, I just literally don't understand how council is supposed to get all this information on 6 projects 2 days before a meeting, how we, the residents, don't have anything, they're supposed to vote on it. It just is not how government works, and it's just very frustrating for me, extremely. So when you have residents who come up here time and time again trying to ask questions, never getting answers, that's where the frustration starts. And it's 4 years of this, and we're done. So please table this till 2025.
Thank you.
Mr. Cannon, just a quick question. Can you just tell us all, for the record, what is the rule around being able to share a professional proposal? You know, we, the council, are sitting here reviewing Mr. Malak's proposals, but I'm told we cannot share this with the public until what? Are there rules around what we can and cannot share?
It's a public document, as far as I know.
So there's no competitive concerns about sharing CME's proposal that other
So it's
professional.
professional service. So it's not awarded to lowest bidder. If you wanted to hire someone cheaper, you can do that, or you can actually hire someone more expensive. It's Section 5 Local Contracts Act, Section 11, and it's professional service. You can award it at your discretion. So sharing the proposals or what have you is not an issue in this context.
So if we're gonna vote on this or discuss this again in a future meeting, we could share the proposals with the public in advance of that meeting.
Yeah, but yeah, those are public documents.
if there was I understand. If there was a bid or a competitive contracting process, those would not be
Right.
available. Because it's a professional service, there is no competitive contracting process, so you can share them.
Yep.
Do whatever you want.
Thank you.
Thank
Yes.
Thomas J. Cohen, 612 Third Avenue, Mr. Matlock, what is the bid threshold you referenced?
I believe it's $44,000.
Okay, great, thank you. And then, Mayor, you referenced a meeting, this week with Mr. Gartz. Will the council be at that meeting?
No, it's a update meeting by Mr. Gartz.
Just not to the council, is that what you're saying?
We hold any number of meetings with any number of people all the time, so no, the answer is no.
No, so the council will not participate in that meeting.
Correct.
Okay, great. That's what I want to know. Could you do me a favor for bookkeeping? I'd like to get more specifics on which of these individual resolutions will be tabled. Because it's kind of a mishmash right now. How about 182?
We're gonna table 184 through 190, 182 and 183 stay.
Okay, so it's 184 right to 190?
Correct.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yes.
Nancy Meadow, with the work on the meetings. I underscore Mr. Nishankin's frustration regarding this evening's work. I add to it my total confusion. I was a government contractor. And we would win an award. We were the lowest responsible bidder. Operative word there for me was to be responsible about the goods and services I was manufacturing or selling, not necessarily the cheapest. And it bothers me that if we were, or when we eventually demolish this church, that we have to pay someone to see if the contractors we hired to demolish it are doing it right. It would appear to me that we would hire someone who is reputable, responsible, and has their own oversight. I don't understand why we have to pay someone to do their record keeping. That should be part of their proposal and presentation as to what they can do when they demolish the property. And with all that goes on here, and we always get a bid, we accept the bid, and then they come back to us for more money because they didn't think of this or think of that. Let's do it right the first time. Somebody comes back to us saying, you know, we probably want some more money. No, this is what we asked for, this is what we expect. And I would expect that for once, we hire somebody who's quality, who has quality and pride in their outcome. And I realize it's New Jersey, but there has to be some company that can do this correctly.
Thank you. Yes.
So, Dr. Tom McGuire, 610 Brindley Avenue. I had a few concerns about the demo project. I know I did say this last time about getting RFPs. Are we still are we gonna do this in conjunction, like getting the cost for him and the RFPs at the same time for just a demo company? And then weighing it all out and seeing what we want to do, or are we just weighing his option? Because last time I was here, I gave a name of someone who does demolition and they do it all over the state and they don't need engineers. So are we gonna have both options possibly?
I'm not sure. Ask your question again. I'm sorry.
Sure, so last time I had asked about doing RFPs just for the demo. Just them, okay, like 3 different demolition. Links is one, the one I know is in Glenowitz, he's all over the state. And you would have them RFPs on here as well as that, and then the council would decide what is the best route to go. Is that a possibility or is that not a possibility?
I think we have to, well. Somebody's raising his hand.
I can answer that for you. It's what I mentioned before about the bid threshold. So the cost of the work that the contractor is gonna do to demolish this building is going to be over the $44,000 bid threshold.
So I would say so.
Once that happens, you have to do a public fair and open bid.
Right.
Through, which is governed by local public contracts law.
So then can we just bypass him and just do the RFPs without doing, just do the open contracts?
So, Mr. McGuire, that's a bit of what we were discussing tonight. That was in fact the question I had been raising.
Okay,
Do we need an expert?
Yeah.
To knock something down, the same way we do need an expert to build something up. So that question, we haven't resolved that yet, but that is the question the council was asking us.
Larry, have you talked to any demolition people about this yet, or only seen me?
I'm sorry?
Have you talked to any demolition people or only CME?
I have not spoken to a demolition company. I've spoken to a developer who uses demo companies.
Okay, can you talk to a couple of the, see if they've done this scope of work before without having to do this? I know this is a big job, it's not the biggest job. The guy that I know, he's done way bigger jobs in Newark, right in downtown Newark, so
Right.
they're very experienced in these jobs, so can you talk to them?
Well, also asked T&M to give me some information on.
That's not what I asked. Can, is
Well,
there?
no,
I would
I'm
really
trying to answer your
prefer-
question.
You're not, though. So I would prefer if you guys take the 319 demo, which is gonna slow the project. And that's gonna be lovely for the people campaigning to say that you're gonna, what's it called, delay the process longer, but unfortunately, this is just the dumbest thing I've ever heard to spend money to do this. And I
Well,
think we
it's a
should.
function
hold
of-
on to- I'm talking, don't talk.
Yeah, well, I will.
This is my
It's a
5
function-
minutes.
it's a
No,
function of
shush, Josh.
Don't tell. Shush you.
I'll tell you to shush.
No,
I'm
sorry.
telling you to shush.
We're.
No, I'm not out of order. I did nothing wrong. You're trying to over talk me.
I'm not trying to over talk you.
You're doing it right now.
No, I'm
Shush.
I was trying to engage. in
I'm
question.
not engaging you. I stopped, so don't engage me. Just be quiet, please. Oh my God. So, what was I saying? I hope that we can not proceed with the demolition until the new year. We have a new mayor here because either Mr. Schuck or Mr. Gubitosi can make way better decisions because this is just ridiculous. The next thing I want to talk about is the Main Street improvements. The only thing that I've seen, I've been to almost all the meetings, were the two things about the bike lanes and the lights. And I don't think there was any agreement on anything, so again, I do not want Mayor Fox having his hands in this at all. So if there's any way we can delay that, I know there's grants attached to this, I know things have to be decided, but I don't want his fingers in this at all, because I don't think he listens to us. I don't think he listens to our concerns, so I implore you, please, if there's any way that we can delay this longer and get extensions, I would love that. What was the other thing, I talked about that, why don't we have this subdivision yet? This has been going on for so long, how long does it take to get it subdivided? Now I'm going to engage Mr. Fox. Why is the subdivisions taking so long?
I stated before, it's the application is complete, it's getting scheduled.
That's not my answer, again, you don't answer my questions, why is it taking so long? That's not my time, because he talked, you talked, so I got at least.
That's your time, sorry.
Why is it?
I
taking
answered the
so long?
question, I'm sorry. Thank you.
Dr. McGuire.
Yeah.
I would like to add that I did talk to a demo company. And he was the company that did the building for Avon. And he said he recommended doing RFP for my environmental testing, RFP for environmental remediation.
Separately.
Mhm. And then once the building is remediated, then they would come in and they would demo and remove the building.
Okay.
And again, an RFP for them as well, you know, for a demo company.
Those
All right.
are the steps, yeah.
And is there any way that we know when we're getting when is it going to land use on the next meeting?
That's what I was hoping to see, but I need to get verification on that yet.
Is that going to land use on the next meeting? Because I think they have one soon.
It's in the process of being
I
scheduled.
think October seventeenth.
That's always the
How do you, you're the mayor, process of getting scheduled, how do you not know that?
Because it's either gonna be a special meeting or the scheduled meeting. Thank you. Anybody else?
Yeah.
Yes.
Tracy Davidson, 3044. I just have an observation about the Main Street. Yes, Main Street needs improvement. But I work in Seaburg. So in the summer, I travel every Main Street, I travel down 71. And the difference between Belmar, Avon Belmar, Spring Lake, even into Seaburg, Washington Avenue, is every morning, people are cleaning the streets. They're cleaning in front of the buildings. They're either power washing, they have these things called brooms and they sweep. And they have these squeegees and they do their windows. And there is an effort, I think, to have a cleanliness about Main Street. And I'll even say that Manasquan has that as well, when I go there. So I think it's important when we talk about improving Main Street, that's a way to improve it at almost no cost. The other thing that maybe nobody notices is we have some buildings that have hoses that are coming down into plastic bottles. I mean, I'm not gonna tell you which ones they are, but I don't know why we have that. Other Main Streets don't have hoses coming from the top of their buildings to the ground floor and into Fabulosa bottles. I don't know why that is. So we're talking about spending a lot of money. How about we just clean some stuff up so it looks better? And it doesn't look dirty and it looks clean in a place that you would want to walk around and spend some time. Just an observation, okay?
Thank you. Okay, we'll move to the next item, which is ordinances. We have no introductions. We have an adoption for the refunding bond ordinance 2024-9, refunding the bond ordinance of the Borough of Bradley Beach in the County of Monmouth, New Jersey, providing for the refunding of all or a portion of the borough's general improvement refunding bond series 2014, appropriating not exceeding $1.9 million, therefore, and authorizing the issuance of not to exceed 1.9 general improvement refunding bonds of the Borough of Bradley Beach for financing and costs thereof. So I'll make a motion to open the public adoption hearing for 2024-9.
Second,
Ms. DeNoble?
yes.
Mr. Gubatose?
Yes.
Ms. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Mayor Fox?
Yes. The adoption meeting is open to the public. Any public comments? Okay, I will make a motion to close the adoption hearing and vote to approve 2024-9.
Second,
Ms. DeNoble?
yes.
Mr. Gubatose?
Yes.
Ms. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Mayor Fox?
Yes. There are no communications tonight. The resolutions, we do not have a consent agenda. We have two individual resolutions, and we're gonna make a motion to table some other resolutions. Let's go first to 2024-182, approving the agreement with the MCSPCA for 2025 for animal control services within the borough. Make a motion to approve 2024-182.
Should we discussion first?
Yep.
Okay, Jane.
Well, I would like to say thank you to Dan Jacobs. He saved an eagle from my backyard. He also saved a swan. Yes, a baby eagle landed in my yard. And he also saved a swan from Sylvan Lake. And also I'd like to make a mention to Sylvia Robinson. She lives on Main Street and there's a cat colony currently on 3rd Avenue in the 700 block. This summer alone, she trapped and neutered and released about 17 adult cats. She adopted about 15 kittens out. So this year, they're adding the TNR program to the agreement, so now we can have all our stray cats or feral cats fixed, and they don't live a very long life on the streets. So they get returned to the area and they live out their life a lot healthier and with this program, so I'm glad to see we finally have an agreement with them, because it was a lot of work. And Sylvia did a great job getting a lot of cats a home. But this will help eliminate that problem. Thank you.
The comment I wanted to make was, a number of months ago, I want to say, a woman joined us and spoke about her frustrations with the MCSPCA, specifically regarding addressing trapping and whatever boxes that were there. So that was the last I really had heard of that discussion on this topic until we got our materials for the weekend. So I did approach council president and said, well, what's going on? I was under the impression we were more inclined to work with the Humane Society. And it was Council President DeNoble who educated me a lot of what she just shared with all of you, as well as this, what's it called, the catch and trap?
TNR, yeah, trap unit return.
Okay, trap and return program, apparently one that the SPCA, whatever, is less expensive, and they have this very strong program that the Humane Society doesn't. So in case anyone's wondering why we're about to vote to retain the MSPCA instead of the Humane Society, a lot of what Council President DeNoble just shared has influenced me.
Thank you.
I just want to say that I'm no fan of Ross LaCitra, who's the head of the MSPCA, and I was inclined to not have them do our services because of his behavior towards employees, because I think how you treat the people you work with and who are your employees is so very, very important. But after talking to Jane and finding about the TNR program, and Al and I spoke about the woman who had complained about the foxes. I remember her sitting probably about where Paul and Champion is, and then that they had gotten that fixed. I think that they're actually doing a good job. I totally believe in trap, neuter, release. I think it's an excellent program. And since they are actually taking care of the foxes, that's really good. So I would never want anyone to have to work for Ross, but I am very thrilled with the programs that they're providing. So as long as things stay good and we don't get more, we don't get complaints, then I'm willing to vote on this.
Okay. Thank you.
Do I have a second?
Second,
Ms. DeNoble?
Yes.
Mr. Gubatose?
yes.
Ms. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yeah.
And Fox.
Yes. 2024-183, authorizing approval of purchase through the Ocean County Purchasing Co-op pricing system for Sunoco fuel. Make a motion to approve 2024-183.
Second.
Ms. DeNoble?
Yes.
Mr. Gubatose?
Again, just for the benefit of the public, the mayor shared information with us that a lot of competitive pricing work has been done by the administration. And this is in fact the best purchase price for the borough. So I will vote yes.
Ms. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Mayor Fox?
Yes. Motion 2024-184 through 190 to table till the meeting of the 20, is it the 23rd?
23rd.
Second.
Ms. DeNoble?
Yes.
Mr. Gubatose?
Yes.
Ms. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Mayor Fox?
Yes. Okay, we've got the mayor and council reports. Why don't we start with Council President DeNoble?
You got it. All right. So let's start with the Bradley Beach Shade Tree Commission. They had a meeting Wednesday on October 2nd that I attended. A few applications. 401 3rd Avenue is planting a tree. Good news. 414 4th Avenue, they're removing a tree, planting one. 506 Burlington, removing one tree. It is dead, no replacement. 314 3rd Avenue, they're removing 8 trees and planting 8 trees. And 501 through 511 Lake Terrace, removed 3 trees, but they're planting 78 trees plus bushes, a lot of hollies and birches. So that's good news. Tree of the month is awesome. It's almost 200 years old, black oak. It's at 307 Ocean Park. You gotta see it to believe it. They were also working on their 5-year plan. The planting was September 28th. This is probably too much information, but it rained really bad and I was soaked to my underwear. We planted, and I wasn't alone with that. I had other people vouch that the same thing happened to them, even my genie bra. 22 trees were planted. Special thanks to the commission members. and residents that volunteered, and especially to our DPW, Armando and Josh. They dug the holes, they delivered, they staked the trees, they put the water bags. They are awesome. Shade Tree account is now $11,000. Tourism, October 8th, mark your calendar. Friday, they're gonna have the Addams Family movie in the park starting at dusk. Sunday, October 27th, big day. The Bradley Boo runs from 12 to 4. That's when they trick or treat at the local businesses. And they visit with them. And then the Bradley Beach Rec Department will hold trunk or treat in the municipal lot the same day from 1 to 3. Then at 3 p.m., the Halloween concert in the park will be held. So bring blankets and chairs and sit and enjoy the afternoon. And then at 5 o'clock, the annual Halloween parade, sponsored by the Bradley Beach Fire Department, will be held in Riley Park. So plan to spend the day in Bradley Beach. Also looking forward to the holiday season, the Tourism Commission has been working with both the Rec Center and the Borough of Bradley Beach Special Events to create its first indoor-outdoor Merry Market. The market will be held at the Rec Center from 10 to 2 p.m. Starting out to 2 p.m. on Sunday, December 1st. There'll be over 30 vendors, refreshments, and live music. Mark your calendar. The tree lighting will be Sunday, December 1st. That'll include hot chocolate and cookies, live music, and the classic rewind band, horse and carriage rides, plus a visit from Santa. And last but certainly not least, Bradley Beach Elementary School. They did not have a board at meeting, but I would like to mention that it is Respect Week. And the Bradley Beach Elementary School students gathered for an engaging assembly as part of New Jersey's Respect Week. It emphasizing the power of kindness and standing up for one another. Our students learned how to be upstanders, helping peers who are teased, and understanding the importance of talking to trusted adults when facing these challenges. They also encourage children to show respect for themselves, their classmates, and their community. So let's continue to foster a supportive and caring environment for all. And that completes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Bilotosi.
Thank you. I'm the liaison for the police department, and I will present the police report prepared by Captain Terry Browning. Last week, Detective Lieutenant Terry Browning was sworn in by Mayor Fox as our new police captain, witnessed largely by fellow officers, family, friends, and members of the council. This was an informal ceremony, and once uniform upgrades are complete, there will be a more formal ceremony open to the public. But I just wanted to take this opportunity to congratulate Captain Browning on his very much deserved promotion. And now, thanks to Captain Browning, just want to keep saying that so I refer to him correctly going forward. The police report follows. A local man was arrested for simple assault and harassment following a dispute. A Matawan man was arrested for disorderly conduct and littering after he showed up at a local establishment already severely intoxicated and created a disturbance. We also arrested one individual on a contempt of court warrant. A member of our K9 unit provided safety and security sweeps at the Belmar 5K race this past Saturday. Lastly, the police department would like to remind residents that, as we do every year, the portable stop signs that are seen on Madison Avenue on all the east-west streets have been removed for the winter season. This does not change the fact that there is a required stop at location as indicated by both a permanent stop sign on the corners and the stop bar in the street. I am the liaison to the Silver Lake Commission, and just a quick update that the next meeting is on Wednesday, October 16th. Commission discussions continue to focus upon the advancement of activities focused on restoring the health of the lake, including securing funding, developing planning to prepare for the repair of the bulkhead on the Bradley Beach side of the lake, and more broadly for the dredging and restoration of the lake itself. The Silver Lake Commission holds monthly meetings on the third Wednesday of the month at 7 p.m. here in Borough Hall Meeting Room at 701 Main. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilwoman Mahoney.
Right.
Hi, Ben. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben.
Thanks, Ben.
The Environmental Commission met on October 7th. We will be participating in a beach sweep on Saturday, October 19th. and you are all welcome to join us beginning at 9 AM. Sign up and sign the waiver by going to cleanoceanaction.org or meet us at the Fifth Avenue gazebo the day of the sweep. But you'll need to sign a waiver that day too, so you might as well do it online first. The commission would also like me to remind you that idling your car is harmful to our environment. New Jersey law prohibits idling for more than 3 minutes unless your car is being warmed up on a day colder than 25 degrees. I just learned that today. So please, don't idle your car unless you're in traffic, then you're allowed to. The land use board will meet on October 17th at 6:30 PM. And, local 152 is still putting 2 months without a contract. So I put that in there.
2 years. Thank you.
2 years? I thought January is not 2 years, now it's 2 years?
Yeah, it's coming up on 2 years.
Oh, yeah.
Councilman Weber.
Hi, Mayor. So starting with first aid squad for the period ending today, the squad responded to 10 day calls and 5 night calls. That's a total of 15 calls. I love that they do the math for me and that. It's fantastic. 10 were for medical, 2 were for fire. There was one water rescue request. Squad would like to thank the lifeguards for their quick action on October 5th in rescuing 4 juveniles and 1 adult from Rip Current on the Newark Ave Beach. Their quick action resulted in the squad only transporting the adult swimmer to Jersey Shore. The squad provided medical overwatch for the traumatic brain injury walk, as well as medical overwatch for the fire department's live burn drill at Fire Academy. Congratulations to First Lieutenant John Zach for obtaining his national EMT certification for pre-hospital trauma life support. The squad requested no mutual assistance for this period, and they fulfilled 100% of their assignments for this period. And they are looking for volunteers, free training for qualified individuals. Applications are on the borough's website, and they have a cadet program for people ages 16 to 18 who are interested in serving their community. And now for the fire department's report. For the month ending September 30th, they responded to 11 day calls and 3 night calls. A total of 14 calls. 1 was for fire, 10 were for fire alarm activations, 3 were carbon monoxide alarm activations. The department conducted 1 training for the hose line stretching and flowing water to fires. There were no mutual aid requests. I'm happy to report we have 2 new firefighters currently attending Monmouth County Fire Academy. The department fulfilled 100% of our assignments for this operational period. And they are also looking for volunteers, and they offer free training for qualified individuals. The application can be found on the borough website. I'm gonna add, I went to the fire department's meeting last week, a couple weeks ago, and they just reported on the successful 5K that many people in this room participated in or came out to observe. And as a result of that, they were able to donate over $8,000 to different organizations around town. So they're spreading it around, and we really thank them for that. I would also like to thank, mentioning the Shade Tree Commission, the planting that we had. Ms. DeNoble mentioned how many trees we planted, 22, and that is fantastic. And of course, we can't do it without the DPW, so we want to thank them. But, you know, given the number of people that come to the Shade Tree Commission and ask permission to cut down a tree, we're kind of breaking even, you know, with the number of trees that we get planted every year and the number of trees that people come and ask to get cut down. So I cannot imagine what this town would be like if we weren't out there planting 20-something trees every spring and fall. Because we're kind of breaking even. Something else kind of unrelated, a long time ago, this town passed an ordinance that says trash must be in cans with lids. You can't put out your trash in a loose bag. And there's really good reasons for this. Squirrels get into the bags, or seagulls get into the bags, and then there's trash strewn all over the street. I'm personally just seeing a lot of loose bags out there. So I just want to remind people that our ordinance says it's gotta be in a can, and can's gotta have a lid. So that doesn't mean like you put out 1 can and there's 5 bags all around the can because you can't fit it. Essentially, you need to get another can. And this is not just because we like rules, it's because we want to keep the town clean. So just remember that. And that is the extent of my report.
Thank you, Councilman. Okay, I've got a few things. First, I just want to let people know that the Bradley Beach Office of Emergency Management last Friday was able to acquire a 7,500 watt portable generator for use during borough operations. The generator is on permanent loan from Monmouth County Sheriff's Department, the Monmouth County Office of, which is a subset of the Monmouth County Office of Emergency Management. This generator will be invaluable for outdoor weather events and has the capacity to power the municipal building in the event of a generator failure. This acquisition ensures that the borough can maintain critical services without relying on JCP&L for immediate assistance during emergencies. It's a great step towards enhancing our preparedness, and getting a loan like that is great because it doesn't cost us anything. We are holding the final Mayor's Wellness Walk this Sunday at 9 a.m. This is one of our interesting ones in that it's bring your dog. So it's walk time for you and your dog. Your dog needs to be on a leash, but come to Brindley Avenue, and we'll be supplying separate water dishes and dog biscuits for the dogs. Dr. Kathleen Heaney, president of the Heaney Veterinarian Consulting and retired director of Merck Animal Health, will be leading this talk. It's her part two. She did one last year and she did a great job and was extremely informative. So I'd encourage people, it's supposed to be a beautiful day. If you'd like to come down and with your dog, feel free. I'm gonna just try to hit the highlights on the library and on the recreation, in that there's just a tremendous amount going on in both, and I'd encourage you to look at the website. But next Wednesday, October 16th, is Publishing Pathways. It's a workshop for aspiring authors. Friday, the 18th of this is the library, I'm sorry. Friday, October 18th, a costume ball. Children will be able to sing, play, dance, musical games. If you want to wear a costume, that's great. It's ages 2 to 6, registration required. Wednesday, October 23rd, family bingo. There'll be toys, office supplies, and more. There's again registration required. Thursday, October 24th, Read for the Record. This is a Read for the Record is really interesting. It's participating in Read for the Record by reading the same story that many around the world would be reading at the same time. You're trying to set a record for the most people reading the same book at the same day. I don't know if it gets in the Guinness Book of World Records, but it's an interesting idea. Thursday, October 24th, Bradley Beach Visual Arts Community presents Harvest of Colors art exhibition. And again, there's a number of other activities. Just check the website. Lots of great activity by the library. We always do a great job. Recreation yesterday morning. I don't know if Chief Arnold was there yesterday morning. I don't think you made this one yesterday morning this year.
This morning?
Yeah. Did you make it yesterday?
This morning.
Oh, it was this morning? Okay, I'm sorry. I assume you were. You made it?
No, I wasn't there.
Okay, good. I didn't make it either. I made it last year, but it was a great event. Rec Department, Bradley Beach Elementary School team up their annual walk and roll to school. So great group of kids, family and teachers meet at Riley Park, and with the assistance of police, they walk safely to school on time. Because of this partnership and programs like Walk and Roll and Learn to Ride, the school has received bronze level recognition in New Jersey's Safe Routes to School program for 2024 through 2026. Congratulations. Big weekly lineup at the recreation, matinee Monday, first and third Monday, and again, this is all on the website, movies at the rec center. Chair yoga Monday starting 10:21 from 10:30 to 11:30. Table tennis, we've got a donated table tennis ping pong table, so from 9 to 3 on Tuesdays for 8 weeks, there is a table tennis competition. Homework helpers every Wednesday, 3:30 to 4:30. Open rec, which entails any number of activities every Thursday, Friday from 3 to 7 for all the kids. Open play Mahjong is every Friday from 1 to 3. And then I think Council President DeNoble mentioned this, but 10/27 is a trunk or treat, which is the third year, which has been a highly successful event. And I'm gonna just stop my comments there. because I got a few more, but I'm just gonna okay, because I've talked too much already. So we'll now go to public comments. And I don't know if there are public comments. I actually had something just come up that I have to go attend to at home. So, Council President, could you handle public comments, please? My apologies, but sometimes stuff happens.
Okay. Yes. Ask it quickly.
No, I'll just ask it anyway.
Okay.
I was gonna ask if he, I got a video. That has been sent me, where the mayor was talking about the charter study, I guess I'll ask you this. Charter Study Commission, where he said that he saw a post on Facebook that had misinformation. I'm assuming he was talking about mine? Was he talking about mine?
No, I was telling Brigitte, I need to see what you.
Oh, okay, thanks. So I wanted to know what the misinformation was, because I watched the video and he didn't specify what the misinformation was, except he said that there was a timeline that the commission, should this pass, would have until March to issue their report, March 2025. All the research I have done said 9 months. Hello?
Right. Oh, this is,
I mean,
this is for the
is
change.
anybody gonna,
Tracy,
you know,
that's what,
Yeah,
That's what my only
she directed it to you, I thought she.
I did.
I mean,
My- my
people corrected his
information-
email that she sent me.
does say 9 months for a charter study.
right, so what the mayor said was it was March, which I think is incorrect.
Not, you know.
Because
you know
that's
what
not 9
9
months, I had two
Erica,
children, that's not 9 months, no, November to March is not 9 months.
Did you send me an email on this, right, Ms. Davidson?
Yes, I did,
And I provided you with the correct information,
Yes.
statute, correct?
you just said, you
I
said
don't
that
watch the
was
man, I don't
correct.
watch Facebook videos. I emailed you back, I answered you before you came here today, right? I gave you the
Right.
correct information.
Because I can't ask the guy that I wanted to ask the question to.
Oh, I respectfully submit that that's not mine.
So it's 9 months, it is not March. There would not be a special election then in June. Because he said there would be a special election then in June of 2025.
Yeah.
That's what he said in his video. He said, March, we'd have to give, March of 2025, we'd have to give the report. June of 2025, there would be an election. And then the following November, there would be an election, another election on all of the people. If.
I don't know what was said in your post or what social media posts or whatever it is that you're referencing. But as I wrote to you in your email, the commission's elected, they have to be organized, they have 9 months until August of 2025 to complete their recommendation. If they recommend that the form of government should change, there's a referendum again in November as to whether that's gonna happen or not. And depending on whether the vote is yes or no, it would be reset in 2026.
Okay,
So
so
that-
he was incorrect and I can,
Like I said, I haven't seen the video, I don't.
well, I'm
it's
telling
yours,
you what was said.
I'm just,
This is-
trying to send me the correct information.
Greg, I did see the video.
Why?
You are
Okay.
correct. You are correct. The mayor was incorrect.
Yeah, okay, because I read very carefully that petition. I follow all the rules. I know people don't do that. But I do. And I don't like it when somebody says that I'm giving misinformation out. And then does not say what the misinformation is. I don't know, that's weird. But whatever. You should say what the misinformation is. Do you two agree?
I agree.
All right, but he's not
Yeah,
here.
good, it's
Thank
also
you.
yours.
So just for clarity, if I can ask Greg a question and not take up people's time, does that, if people vote yes, and they do seat a 5-person charter study commission, do they actually take their seats on January 1st, or does it start like the day after election day?
I believe that's organized within 30 days, I've seen it before that.
15, it said
Okay.
15.
Okay.
I've done my research.
Perfect, so it starts before the end of, that's great, so we don't have to wait till January,
It
that's
says
great.
you have to organize by November 15th. November 15th. You have it, 15 days after the November election, you have to set your agendas.
As a practical matter, what happens is you have the first meeting but you have no secretary, you have no attorney,
Right. And
you have nothing.
Right.
And so the first meeting is really just to select who the chairperson is gonna be, to then gather all that and then come back and approve those people and have the borough council approve the expenses, which is part of it as well. So the first meeting is really, what do we need? What's our budget? Submit it to the council, and then once the council authorizes, it's really not till December that you actually sit down and maybe have a hearing or what have you, because you gotta get those people in place.
Thank you very much.
Mrs. Davidson, would you want me to share the information that he had was incorrect? Do you want me to maybe write him an email?
I know what he said, I mean.
Right.
He said it in the video.
Okay, I'm gonna share that in an email to him to let him know that he's.
I would point out that I provided you guys at one point with a memo that had the entire timeline in it, and you can feel free to share that. It's not really, it's not really
Did you
privileged.
share that with the mayor as well?
I'm pretty sure I said it.
Share it with everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought so too,
So maybe,
okay.
maybe we can ask the mayor to correct his misinformation that he's putting out there.
Thank you for bringing that to our attention.
Yeah.
It's very appreciated. Okay. I think it was right. Ms. Duffy.
Oh, I just have a few comments. Linda Duffy, 3 Brindley Avenue. I don't know who to ask this to, but I looked through our RFPs and we have an RFP for engineering, environmental and demolition of engineer services for the 319 Lorraine project. Why is this here and why are we doing it again?
What's the date that you have on that?
It's 23. I just unshut my phone. It's July 10th, 2023.
We never did it.
I'm just asking the question.
Do you recall this, Mr. Cannon?
Yeah. Do you wanna look at it?
Okay.
I mean, we could try, but none of the people that actually know the answer are here.
Well, it's
So,
not
like,
convenient. Okay, I just had a question because
I mean, I
I
know
looked
it's
at,
not
I've
to
been
be
looking at this
facetious,
for
but
like,
like,
no, I
sure,
know,
yeah.
because. And I'm not being angry either. I'm just like curious because honestly, I've been looking at this website for months now because I've been doing nothing. And I didn't see it there all the time and I just kind of found it.
So, Mrs. Steffi, at that point in time, there was an understanding that we were the borough. The question was at the time, who's gonna do the demolition? And we were talking about selling the property intact,
Right.
subdividing and deed restricting.
It doesn't have to say that though.
No, I know. That's why I'm curious about the date you've got, because there was, I'll call it confusion or inconsistent understanding around what role the borough would play in demolition. And we, up until October 25th, 2023, there was this confusion. And on that date, the entire council of 5 voted that we would sell the property, subdivide, deed restrict, sell it to an entity, and that entity would do the
Right.
demolition.
So further discussion on this topic is, one of the biggest problems that happens within the council and the mayor's administrative form, whatever you want to call it, he jumps topics. He doesn't stay with one topic and maybe come back to it in a month. He waits 6 months, 9 months to come back to it. Why are we looking at the engineering report from the recreation center when that was we got the grant last year? Like, that should have been been moving along instead of coming all at one time. It's a lot to swallow for anybody. You know, you guys have a lot of work to do and to go through all these proposals at one time for these resolutions, it would have been so much easier if you had maybe 1 a month instead of like 6. So that would be my suggestion.
It's a very good suggestion.
You know, and I think the audience here and all the residents would be able to it would be easier to follow along. The other thing is, wait a second, because I'm losing my train of thought. With that, plan that we had for the rec center, Councilman Weber, weren't there trees that had to be addressed on that site that you were concerned about? And I don't know if we ever got to follow up on that.
Well, the memo or whatever that accompanied that still talks about tree removal. but I'm not convinced that we need to remove the
All right,
retreat.
so that's just one aspect. And the other thing I would like to suggest is maybe we should get our environmental report done now and not wait for anybody. So we're at least one step ahead.
I like that idea.
You know, we're just like waiting forever to get things done. And there's one more thing, I have to remember what it is, oh, Main Street. If we do follow through with Main Street in a timely fashion, I would like to see the north end done first. Thank you, because they're always done last.
I like it. Good idea. Ms. Meta,
You need the zero, so I'm sorry.
Let's face it. So, Ms. Meadow, Ocean Mark, I'm the names, thank you. You're welcome. I had the most divine experience getting my tree. From meeting with two people on the commission, well, I get, and the liaison. And then there in the pouring rain, well, let's go back. Public Works digging the hole exactly where I wanted it. And then the pouring torrential rain. There's our own councilman, Mr. Weber, planting my tree. Which I have been watering religiously and I'm getting pooped. So had I known this was such a seamless procedure, I would have done it a really long time ago. I have a lot of property. I just am now envisioning trees and I'm gonna save the containers that I got from Miss Duffy to water them with. So like Shade Tree Commission, count me in on trees. So thank you. I wish other parts of this community could work that way. And then it was staked in the pouring rain by DPW. I mean, just great. And yet they don't have a contract. It's hard for me to look them in the face, quite honestly, because I don't know what to say. On the other side of things, the website, and interesting that the mayor and Mr. Shook has left, so it's kind of the only one to hear me really would be Mr. Gubitosi. Ocean Park Avenue was torn up and detoured yesterday. It would have been nice had there been an announcement on the website.
that was actually a resident.
Well,
I happened to be there and
me too, I couldn't.
yeah, and I think they were just redoing their own pipe. And it had to go out further than they expected and they had to dig up, it was an emergency kind of situation, if I.
Whatever, I'm just saying, those are the kinds of things that I personally would like to see on the website. Announcements,
Yeah,
not a personal announcement from the mayor, but something that would help others in town.
yes,
I've said this before. The tax bills. I really truly believe we would eliminate some problems if when you mail them out, which has gotta be any day now, you include in it in multi-language. The procedures for snow removal and your cars. That tax bill goes to every single property owner. If you don't live here and you rent it out, it's your job as the landlord to then forward that information. There's not one property owner that would not get the information, because here's the thing. How does DPW do their job when the cars aren't moved? It's kind of like the street sweeping bit. Cars are not ticketed. DPW can't do their job. So what department could help DPW do their job? I wonder. But again, I really think that that could be helpful, and if not, it at least gives you something to stand behind when you were given the information. We're back to the whole separation of church and state. And it really bothers me that you, Mr. Noble, mentioned in your report all these activities and the holiday activity. And there we were, I guess it was last week, where the temple had a event or gathering to celebrate their new year, where everyone was cordially invited. I don't know what went down with that. Did they have to have a permit? Did they apply for a permit? Did we waive a permit? Did they not need a permit? Costs that were accrued, did they pay for that? I don't see where we as a community pay for their costs when they're doing something that the whole community is invited to. And I find this really unfair. Because again, where do you draw the line? With what religion, with what group? I don't want to judge. And these are things that I think the new administration, no matter who it would be, and I'm sorry that a possibility Mr. Shook walked out. But somebody's gonna need to deal with all of this. Because it's bigger than Bradley Beach. It is really denying separation of church and state in favorism, which we know this administration favors businesses for. I will get off of that. I'm still waiting for a P&L on the rec department. Because I cannot imagine the money that's spent and wasted there. Idling, we have our own resolution that we couldn't idle our own vehicles for more than 3 minutes. Or whatever you said. But then we said that resolutions expire after 1 year. So I would say, can we turn that into an ordinance, just our own municipal vehicles should not idle. I brought this up before. And I would think regarding stop signs and being reminded that we need to stop at them, I would think that would also apply to a full stop. And that would apply to law enforcement. But silly me thinks that laws apply to everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I ask Chief Arnold something? Not about the stop signs. If something is a Jersey law, then do we need an ordinance in town? Or maybe, right, so it's just like, stopping at a stop sign is a state law, and so the idling is a state law, and so you don't need to, I guess the resolution was done to kind of pound it home,
To remind people.
remind people.
So we need to still remind people.
Well, I think the environmental commission has an idea that we have some money that we haven't used, and we're gonna maybe see about getting signs and putting them up in certain places about no idling to remind people.
Because we're the sign city.
I may have to thank both.
Hello,
Or something.
just state your name and address, please.
Edward Fisher, 614 Lorraine Avenue. Talking about the idling of cars, I live on the 600 block, actually 614, on Main and, by Lorraine. The street light there, I don't know how long it is, but very long, so we get cars backed up, idling. I think it's a 3-minute light, I have never actually timed it, but it's the longest light in the town.
Yes,
Isn't it? Oh my God. It's like-
On Lorraine.
Say the residents of Lorraine.
I had a friend that almost fell asleep on it, he told me. But anyway, it's a problem, because we get 4 or 5 cars, maybe 3, that reach our house. And at that point, the cars are idling, at a good, time. And also, I think they need a loading zone on Main Street, right there by the Butter Biscuit, there's quite a few stores there. I know on the 600 block on Main Street, there's a loading zone for the liquor store. There's none on 600 block, which is, I think necessary, because we got a lot of deliveries from, the restaurants, and they all mostly go, on the side street on Lorraine. So we have those trucks there, and, so I think, a loading zone across from the police station would be, perfect. 15-minute loading zone, and timing of that light, we gotta look into that.
I have a quick question for you. What time do you notice the deliveries coming in?
It's actually all day.
It is all day?
Yeah, it is all day. I
Because
think.
we did add a loading zone on Second Avenue, and it's from, I think, 6 AM to 2 PM. And that seemed to help a
Yeah,
lot.
and also, talking about Second Avenue, I noticed the, streets, parking, spots are marked out.
Yes,
And I think that's a great idea for the whole town.
I agree with you, especially the
we got
600 blocks.
Limited parking, especially, from the restaurants, and people that come don't know how to park, and they take up 2 spots. And I think those parking, marked out spots would really help.
I think you have a brilliant idea,
Yeah.
and I agree with you.
How did they get them on Second Street? Did somebody have to request them? or-
Mayor Larry Fox actually did that.
Oh, does he live on Second?
No, he lives on Monmouth, but I live on Third, so that's why I know about these marked spots, but I think especially in the 600 blocks, it's very helpful to have marked out spots.
Plus all the restaurants and bakeries and pizza places.
And people's driveways get blocked. Ever since we had those lines put in, they don't get blocked anymore, so,
I know it helps a lot.
yeah, so
Thank you very
hopefully
much.
maybe that's something we could do in 2025
Well, thank you.
with our new mayor. Thank you. Mr. Cohen.
Street, Cohen, 612 Third Avenue. I prepared all these questions for the administration and, for, Eric is the only one here from the administration and.
I can do my best, I can't promise you anything.
So my first question is, it was alluded to, by Ms. Meadow. When will the tax bills be out? Or are you just gonna hold them till after the election?
Oh, gosh, no.
Okay,
No,
great,
no, those should be out shortly.
Okay.
I don't even think we've received them from the county yet, to be honest with you.
okay.
Okay, I'll double check on it, but I don't recall seeing those at all yet.
Days until the election.
And by the way, being that they're gonna be late, we're gonna get them late, get them out late, there of course will be grace period. An extension, okay?
Great, thank you. And then, I was wondering, when we will receive the 2023 audit, which was due July 1st. I was wondering if that's gonna be held till after the election.
Sorry, my sense of humor. I don't know anything about that.
Okay, could you
Sorry.
make a note for the mayor?
Mhm.
Maybe he could answer my question. And then, my next question is, when will we receive the 2022 audit corrective action plan, which was due in 2023? I contacted DCA Local Finance Board, Christina Zapici, this week, and she informed me that they don't have one on file, and I can't find one on the town website. So I don't know how we're, administering our money when we have such a bad audit report for 2022. The audit report for 2023 is held back, should have been out in July, and now we don't even have a corrective action plan to say what our direction was from the bad 2022 audit. I'm sorry to say this,
Okay,
but I know you'll relay that, right?
you know I will.
I know you will. Also, I
I
did
don't
want.
have a document unfortunately, but I will relay that.
Okay, yeah, it's more fun when he's here, but thank you for passing it on.
I'm not fun?
No, you're fun, but it just, there's a little more excitement. The other thing is there is a video that the mayor put out, which, where he bragged about the tax rate was going down. Well, I just wanna clarify for people who don't really understand the process, that the rate has to go down. Nobody's taking credit for that like he is, because you added 161,489,000 increase to the rates. So the rate has to go down. So again, this misinformation that people get, I find to be very frustrating. And I would hope the council would demand immediately that we get the things that I'm asking for. It's beyond, the DCA is giving out grants and everything, but clearly DCA Local Finance Board isn't doing a smack up job protecting the residents.
So DC is giving out fines too to certain
Oh,
people.
you know what,
Yeah,
that's right.
But not to others.
Yeah, not to anyone else, they get waivers, it's, I think what is referred to as the politics, I think. It's politics. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, TJ.
Anybody else? Anybody on Zoom?
Nope.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn the meeting. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.